Not really Reflections, but actually
Well,
kind of is a little bit.
and
All
I
right.
think he got a remake on the likes of Demon Souls. Jesus Christ. Looking at what you're playing, much you haven't stopped playing that damn game all week.
What, Crisis Core?
Yeah.
I
No, no,
legit put 4 hours into this game. 4.5 hours. That's not a
Crisis
lot.
Cringe. Remember?
Yeah, Crisis Cringe. You're right. Let me look to see how we're sounding. So, Dance Monkeys Dance.
Well, that's racist. Why? Because I'm Puerto Rican.
Oh man, crazy.
Wow. Wow, crazy. Damn. So, how have you been? How's school treating you?
It's good, man. I'm done. I'm done until the second. So,
Hey, that's what's up, man. It's all about that gaming now and work.
until like I have like a week until I'm off for vacation. So,
Already got what you're gonna be playing this holiday break?
no, I can't be playing anything because I won't be bringing my PS5. So,
Oh, where you traveling?
yeah, I'm not gonna say exactly where, but yeah, I'm gonna be going overseas.
Man, ain't nobody
Oh,
looking for
dope.
where you at, bro. It's alright.
Hey man, you don't know. There's some weirdos out there, So,
There really are. And I won't say where it is. I just want to ask you, is it the place where you hinted at, like we've talked about in the past,
I don't know.
that you've had planned for a minute?
You actually, you remember that?
Oh yeah, because he once talked about
So
a
the,
place
the
that he.
suspects you're talking about, so are the ones that are in this podcast right
I
now.
guess so. Yeah.
No,
Yeah, I
no,
can't.
because I remember my friend's anecdotes, man. I know this man spent
Damn,
years saving up for a certain trip.
that's
So,
crazy. I can't say shit on this podcast.
hey, that wasn't even a podcast. That was just prior to that.
You sound good, by the way.
Okay, cool.
Thank you. I know.
Um,
Do I sound good? Because I have a new mic.
Yeah, you sound fine.
Okay. Cool,
okay,
cool, cool,
I'm
cool.
just getting some like the tags and all that stuff ready.
Yeah.
You got it.
So Macho, if you want to explain to the people what we're gonna be doing today,
Yes,
go
sir.
ahead.
Yeah, so we originally were going to do a Horizon Forbidden West spoiler cast. No, I'm just kidding. We always play for God of War, Ragnarok spoiler cast. And we're just waiting on this man over here that's doing a live playthrough on YouTube to catch up. It's been like a hot minute. And thankfully this guy actually made it to what? Well, like halfway through the game at least at this point, right?
Probably.
Yeah,
Just,
around there.
just, just got there, maybe.
Around there, yeah. So we're gonna do part one of our God of War Ragnarok spoiler cast. We touched on it earlier before, whenever Soul was actually playing it, and when me and Walt capped off on it before the Game Awards. So any moments that we talked about before in our podcast, so you want to know our thoughts a little bit more in detail, like the spoiler, Thor versus Kratos fight, and right at the beginning of the game. Head back over there and check out our impressions. We'll just kind of just gloss over those kind of things in this podcast, the spoiler cast here, and then we'll talk about all the new stuff that someone wants to talk about since he's kind of like a fresh baby in these spoiler casts here for God of War Ragnarok. Me and Walt already dived deep. We're already full mature adults. So right now we gotta let our
Yep.
boy
They
grow up here.
dropped.
Yeah.
Oh man.
But other than that, yeah, it's just God of War Ragnarok spoiler cast. I'm excited, man. I've been pumped to do it since I actually finished the game, and I can't hold back anything now. Like I'm ready. I'm so
Can't
ready.
hold it.
I
Can't.
can't
You
hold it. I
gotta go
can't hold
pee.
it. Yeah, I can't
Go
hold
pee.
it. Can't hold it.
Yeah.
Got a bladder problem. Can't hold
Sounds so weird.
God damn.
it. But at the same time, we're playing some Crisis Core Final
Yeah.
7 Reunion. I love that nickname. Well, I really do.
Hey man, just talking facts. Can't
Hey,
escape from the truth.
hey, man. It's a Square Enix game in the way that you didn't want it.
Still successful.
How is it so far?
I mean, the actual Reunion remaster slash remake, I love it. But it's like a two step forwards, one step back with this remaster. So it looks great. plays amazing. It's actually a ton of fun. Like they revamped the entire combat and everything, but they kept the goddamn script, and I'm so mad because it's literally cringe. It's like 2008, 2009 Square Enix when they were at their worst with their writing and scripts. Surprisingly, Kingdom Hearts 2 is actually way better written than Crisis Core, including dialogue. And the voice direction is just horrible. Like
Let's
it's
not forget about Strangers of
probably
Paradise.
oh I don't know actually 'cause I didn't play Stranger of Paradise, but it is pretty bad. But I would say Crisis Core probably has the worst voice direction I've seen in a game this gen.
God damn. Really?
Ye-
Wow.
Yeah. It's pretty archaic and bad. It's again, it's surprising. It's again 2 steps forward, 1 step back with this one. The convenience stuff is really nice, right? Um, the fact that you can the going into and out of missions is really quick and responsive and fun. It actually tells you how many treasure chests are in like a mission area, so you don't miss out on anything. So there's a lot of really great convenience of life features that they put into this thing, which makes it much more replayable than the original one on PSP, like 1,000 times more replayable. But it kept that goddamn writing, man, and it's really bad. I wish they updated it. And the new voice for Zack just doesn't hit. So
Damn.
Oof.
yeah,
The main protagonist. God damn.
yep. I mean
Is he?
that's my one worry, but I mean maybe we get better because right now I'm with young Zack and he sounds a little more whiny than I'm used to. So maybe when they do the time jump and it's older Zack, maybe he'll sound a
Oh,
lot better
time
like he
jump.
does in 7 remake. But we'll see.
Wait, so he was technically in 7 remake, right? Did he talk at all or what?
Very little.
Very
So
little, yeah.
so was it is it the same actor or no?
It is, yeah.
Oh,
So that's
interesting. So
when you hear when you hear from the original, you notice it right away in 7 remake, like, oh, this is a different voice actor, but it sounded fine, right? And even
mhm.
in like the little scene they put in with Intergrade, and you get a little snippet of Zack in there as well. He sounds good. I was like, okay, yeah, I can see him.
Then he's not the problem. It's the voice direction.
Exactly. Yeah,
It's the
that's why I
person in
say
charge.
specific. That's why I say specifically that the voice direction in Crisis Core Reunion is the worst I've seen or heard in a modern game. So it's like I said, it's not really him that's the problem, even though he's not as great, but it's
Even
really
worse than
just because
Forspoken.
uh, those are two different kinds of bad.
Okay. Okay.
Forspoken is like modern bad,
Oh,
like cringy
like
Marvel,
Western. It's like Western bad. Like,
like cringy Marvel dialogue bad,
oh,
and Crisis Core,
guys, you're gonna have to look at this.
yeah,
Oh no.
yeah, exactly. And Crisis Core is way more of this is bad because of the time period, like kind of thing. So
Cool.
still love playing the game though. It's if you play 7 remake or play the original, definitely play it because Zack Fair is one of the best characters of all time, and just knowing his backstory makes 7 so much more better. But yeah, other than that, it's you don't have to play as day one if you're not fully invested.
Wanna give a shout out to the 4 people who are watching currently.
Yes,
What's up?
sir.
Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. We're gonna get started with the spoiler cast, man. Once again, as Macho had already mentioned, we are going to be talking about the game up until the conclusion to the Vinelheim section. And then our plan is for part 2, if we need a part 3, I don't think we do. But part 2 to be from um, going from back to Sindri's house, and then I'm guessing to the end of the game. Um,
Yeah.
so
And quick, yeah. So, with that being said, the conclusion of the first visit to Vanaheim, because there are a couple of visits. So we're only touching on the first time that you visit Vanaheim, that first time, because conclusion of it's like much later. But yeah, that'll be it.
okay. So yeah, I mean, let's I guess since we've already talked about the beginning of the game. I guess we could kind of breeze through that section really quickly. Um, I mean, I feel like yeah, we already talked about like the big moments. Obviously, the Freya chase scene, the Thor and Odin arrival. Are there any other sort of lingering thoughts you guys have had since you guys have completed the game? Since we talked about that whole entire section, are there any like new lingering thoughts that you have specifically about like how the game opens and that first initial meeting with Freya? Now that you guys have sort of the hindsight that comes with finishing the game.
It's so tough to actually talk about it.
Yeah, now I'm like, oh shit. I don't know. Any
Right, that's
lingering
true.
thoughts? So
Uh,
many.
I guess is there anything new that you guys have noticed about that that sort of little opening?
A
Shit.
lot, a
Oh,
lot.
so when finishing it, it's stuff that you realize at the end. Yes, so I will say, being superficial and breezing over it, uh, I like that this game recontextualizes a lot of the beginning, without spoiling. So I came to appreciate the beginning a bit more with more context. And now knowing that Freya has this, change of heart, uh, it's interesting now thinking about how the game immediately starts with that fight and that sequence of you escaping Freya, which gave me the feeling previous game that she was gonna be kind of like one of the more reoccurring quote unquote antagonists. Uh, but no, she's a companion. So I don't know. That's one of the more appreciative parts I see from it, without spoiling, I guess.
So like here's a good example for me,
hmm
and this doesn't have to necessarily do with that beginning portion of the game, but more specifically the meeting with Thor and Odin. Um, Also, as a side note, Walt, you were totally right about the whole mob boss persona. Like Odin is I see it now. I see it now. That
Yes, not that you mentioned that real quick. Eric Williams went into detail about that and how one of his inspirations for Odin was a character that's a gangster in a movie. Uh, I think Robert De Niro might play that character, which no surprise, of course, Robert De Niro gangster.
yeah.
Uh, but yeah, I mean, I just got the vibe from how he walked and the way he's like, hey, you see? But yeah, everything else, he keeps being a piece of shit
I
mob
mean,
boss.
just the literally the moment that the moment that he comes in through the door and his ravens come back to his forearms, like his first line is literally like, you know me, you know who I am.
You know who I am?
I
Are you
love
talking to me?
that.
You
Yeah,
talking to me?
yeah, it's such a good like for because like also that line I think does a really good job of like showing like the pedestal that he puts himself on, rightfully so, but like he thinks obviously there's a hint of arrogance to him that he thinks very highly of himself, that he doesn't even need to like introduce himself properly. Like, y'all already know who I am, I don't need to say who I am, right?
Yeah, it's like
Yeah,
it's honestly like the Mean Girls perspective, where like the hottest girl in the high school
yeah.
goes and she's like, "Yeah, I know I'm hot." It's like Odin. It's
Yeah.
he's like, "I know I'm hot shit. You know who I am. I got the eye
And
patch.
it's
You already
not
know what
even
that's all about."
and it's not even a front in that macho. Like like how in Mean Girls, to that same extent, they believe it 100%. Like it's not that they know that people think little of them. It's that they themselves believe, no, I am hot shit. And that's the reality. And Odin's the same way. He's like, how can anyone possibly go against my word? I'm like, I'm Odin. Like he's already in that mindset of I control things. I go here, I go there. Like you know who I am. Of course Give me that stool. Let me sit down because I own this place. I own this realm. Like it's so
Yeah.
in the unhinged part. So that you mentioned the first time we talked about it. Uh, it's so consistent. He's always unhinged. He's always like just about to crack in every conversation, and it's amazing.
Yeah. So what I before I got on that tangent, the thing that I wanted to bring up
Yeah.
in relation to my earlier question was that I didn't realize this in the moment obviously, but if you actually go through Kratos's journal, he very similarly to like Nathan Drake or Joel and Ellie, he does jot down, some of his thoughts on the things that are happening in the game. And I recommend everyone to go look at that journal because there's really, really cool little tidbits that adds like additional layers to some of the game's like biggest scenes. And he talks about that moment of like, Odin and Thor coming to his house, and Kratos says that he actually considered the deal, until Odin mentioned Freya, and that was the moment when Kratos decided that he was not going to accept that deal that Odin had laid out for him. And again, like I think that reinforces that Kratos just did not want, any quarrel with Freya. He still considered her a friend. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I thought that was such an awesome little detail to learn that he was actually contemplating that his need for inaction and not, being involved with sort of like this whole Ragnarok business was so deep that he was actually willing to contemplate a deal with Odin just so he didn't have to be involved in all of this shit. But the moment he mentions Freya is when he's like, okay, like this guy is obviously bad news. So I really love that little detail.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that he shows a lot more respect and consideration, not only because they have history together, but also considering the last time he was around a mother figure slash goddess of a realm, uh, it became very complicated to the point where she still haunts his dreams until the previous game, and now he's more, I'm your monster no longer. Or now he's like, I'm not a monster. I'm not gonna make a deal like this. Where in the past he would have, yeah, sure, kill this god. I don't care. You know what? I'll kill the god. There's no deal. I will kill you too. You know what? Everyone's dead. I don't care.
Hmm.
But this time he's a lot more mature in that sense, for sure.
Yeah. So yeah, going back to the beginning of the game, I feel like I really like how it opened with, Kratos just sitting in the cave by himself, and then just kind of like holding Freya's ashes, or whatever is left of Freya's ashes, if there's even anything in there. Um, because again, like I think we talked about this earlier, but like it's this idea of show don't tell. Like you don't need, and they did a really good job of this in the last game. Like one of my favorite scenes in 2018 is when you come back from the hunt with Atreus, that very first hunt, and Freya and Faye is already, burned to ashes. Atreus goes inside the house. Kratos gets on one knee and he starts putting the ashes into the bag, and it's just this really, really quiet scene of him, filling the bag up and holding it up to his face and just like looking at it with like just the most like sad look on his face, right? And he doesn't say a word, but you could see, you know exactly what he's feeling in that moment without him needing to say anything. And it's the very same thing in this opening shot with him just kind of like, running his fingers along the bag, just staring at it, right, having a moment to himself. Again, and this is even before we even know anything about Faye in terms of like their relationship, and that tells you everything you need to know about how much he valued this woman. And I just really love that the game opened up with that shot.
Masho, any thoughts there?
Yeah, sorry. Harley was coming through. He just got his nails cut, so there's a bunch of noise going around. Um, but no, I was listening to everything you guys were saying, and yeah, I think I wanted to bring up the point of Kratos still having this firm resolve of not bowing down to gods, and even the ones that were threatening him, they're still, or even supposedly threatening him, like that scene between him, Thor, Atreus, Mimir, and Odin. I thought it was very like, even I was kind of like, yo, just take the deal, man. He's like, they're giving you a good shot. Like, just you don't want any problems, you don't want a war, take the deal. Even after Odin was like, look, just do what we say, and you're good. And he's like, no, no.
No.
And I'm just like, now it begins.
This
Because
is the start of it.
yeah, because as soon as he just breathes no, I just like from then on you're like, all right, now we're going on this crazy adventure. Because even then, like the entire scene was just so intense, and so many little moments that add up to just a ton by the time you finish the game. But just in those moments alone, just them everyone just in that room is like such a it's just seared into my brain of how like intense it is and how much fun it is just unravel these all the dialogues going between everybody, and then Kratos being himself just no. I just absolutely love that moment. It's like it's Kratos being Kratos without the baggage from the previous games where he's like slaughtering everything. It's just another like firm resolve of him not bowing down to gods, and that's what I respect the most about him.
And it starts the same as 2018, where he refuses to, give away to Baldur, whoever he's looking for, whether that be Faye or Loki, where he's like, "Whoa, I thought you were taller. Well, I'm looking for someone. Is there anyone else there?" And I love that in the past he looked for the smoke. This time, the smoke is looking for him, and he is trying his best to protect what little he has, and he keeps getting pummeled and pummeled. And I love that these two games are basically that, just the consequences of six full games of beat 'em ups and just no repercussions. And now it's just the ultimate. You want peace? Here's peace. And there's no peace until like you need patience, and that's something Kratos has really mastered, patience, because he can listen to a god ramble and ramble, and he will not kill him. He will just listen and disagree. He will instead. You see, guys, instead of fighting each other, you can just disagree like Kratos and just say no. Wait for they until they hit you. You don't hit back. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So what did everyone think about the Thor fight, man?
It's all right.
Wait, hold up. Because still talking about that meeting.
Okay.
I do have like this game is a little bit weird with its dialogue because it's clearly like it's not like what you'd expect it to be, sort of like not necessarily like old English, but that kind of like medieval sort of style, right? It's not that. Like it's very much like it sounds very American, which is like I don't know, like it's hard to kind of like take myself away from that because first of all, like Odin referring to Freya as his ex is just like so like present day language, you know what I mean? Like I don't know, like I remember hearing that, I'm like, oh okay. So
Or when he says, "I'll sweeten the deal." It's like, who says that in
yeah,
that moment? Hey, I'll sweeten the
yeah,
deal. Yeah, I'll take care of this. And it's like, wait, are we
yeah,
like bargaining? Like, what's going on?
yeah, but I mean it like extends to like a lot of characters, like not even just Odin.
Hmm.
But yeah, it definitely feels like it's it's like I don't know, like American characters in like the Norse world. Um, but yeah, I mean that's just like a little nitpick that I have with like the dialogue. But
Did
um,
did the Greek pantheon have like a more quote unquote old English style dialogue, or
oof.
were they kind of modernized?
I actually don't remember.
Because I don't know if this is like, I'd never remember any of these characters being like old English, not boring, but like kind of just like, oh, okay, yeah, you're like from that time. They just always sound eh, like very self-centered. Like the way they talk, it's like they're in a play. It's like they're like in front of a crowd. They're like trying to put a performance up. I don't know, because Thor doesn't sound. Thor just sounds like he barely speaks. The only person that I think that fits the time with their dialogue is probably Mimir and Kratos, because even Atreus sometimes has some dialogue that's like, "Oh yeah, no, you're why," but it's not bad. It's just different time.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's obviously all very well written, but yeah, it's just like a little it's a little weird thing for sure
Yeah,
that I have with it.
it's no Forspoken for sure.
Yeah, I think it's really because of the fact that trying to modernize it, and because if you're looking at the same thing for some like Hades, where it's
Right.
the entire Greek pantheon, and they all have like somewhat British accents, and you're like, okay, even though they're
Right.
Greek, but
But we don't know, Macho. Maybe
but
it's
but
all
again,
a
it's it.
facade. Maybe they were Puerto Rican. I don't know.
I don't know, but in the case in point, yeah, you kind of get the same vibe with here, where just everything, all the dialogue is just modernized to kind of like fit what people can understand, and I see it the same way like I would with Hades, like I would with God of War, so it didn't really like jar me out too much when they were talking like that.
Yeah, that's totally fair.
Yeah.
Um, Also wanted to bring up with like the initial Freya sort of chase down scene. We also kind of mentioned this earlier, but just kind of want to reinforce that I really love the fact that this is just something that these two have been accustomed to. This is something that they deal with on a somewhat regular basis, right? Because it's like they see Freya on the horizon, and then they're like, "Oh crap, is it her?" And they're like, "Yep, it's her." So yeah, I like that this isn't just like the first time that they've had to deal with this. Like obviously there's been a period of time that separated 2018 from Ragnarok, and this is just something that they have had to deal with over that time. So really really love that. Also, can we talk about before I get before I get to my main point about bringing her up, but can we also talk about like her design in this game? Like Freya's like character design is so like it's just so fucking cool, man. Like I love the new kind of like tattered look to her, but also like the how her the black dye around her eyes are just like forever like it has that like it's running down her cheeks like she's just always crying, you know what I mean? That kind of look.
Yeah, I mean,
Uh
I thought that was literally just because she was crying all the time.
Yeah, and it's just like it's just always there. Obviously, until like the Vanaheim section, I feel like it started to go away. But yeah, just like I really love her redesign in this game, like so much better than her outfit in 2018.
Yeah.
But yeah, the main point I wanted to bring up, which was something that I didn't notice the first time we talked about this, was it felt like when she first starts attacking Kratos, like you notice that she's like choking him, and like I don't know, it just felt like she was. I don't know if this was like the intention or not, but it looked like she was trying to kill him the same way that he killed Balder, right? Because Kratos ended up snapping his neck, and before she obviously moved on to like using her sword and all that stuff. At first she was like choking him very much the same way. So like, yeah, I don't know if that was like a conscious decision on her part, but it just reminded me of the way that Kratos ended up killing her son. So I thought that was really interesting. Did you guys notice that too, or am I am I crazy?
No, I think you just looked into an extra layer just to see if there's story in there, and I think you have a valid point, but you're treading
So
on
the answer's
Kingdom
no.
Hearts territory right now, buddy.
Yeah. So he
Nah,
sounds like a
I ain't
Kingdom
there yet.
Hearts
I ain't
fan.
there
Yeah.
yet.
Yeah. It sounds like you can play Kingdom Hearts now.
No,
Yeah,
no.
man, just let me know. I can lend you the games if you want.
I ain't that down bad yet, guys. So,
Yeah.
You son
I
of a
don't want to
bitch.
decipher your game that much.
Oh
yeah, for
man.
sure.
No, but I can
But
see the parallels in that, yeah, for sure. And I can also see just some desperation in her, like just any means necessary. I'm gonna make you feel every type of pain. Because
Yeah, she jumped on his back, man.
hey,
Like,
yo,
yeah,
she jumped
yeah.
on his back, and like she's in it
it's
to.
like feral. It's like feral. Like she's really trying.
I see what you did there. I see what you did
I don't know. Not even I don't. What I did.
um, but
Moving on.
the the last thing that wanted to bring up before we move on to Thor was which will obviously become important later on, is that I love Atreus not being able to take that shot. He has a clear shot of Freya, who is like literally his father's in danger, and even knowing that, he's still not willing to take that shot because obviously
Please don't
they're
make me do this.
yeah, because of their prior relationship and all that stuff, which obviously will come into play a little bit later during the Vanadis fight. But yeah, just really love that little detail. And then Kratos after the fight, saying Atreus saying, apologizing for not taking the shot, and then Kratos, saying that he did not wish him to. So really really love that.
The character growth for Kratos is like immense, right? Like,
It's
Yeah,
insane.
yeah,
like
It's
it's
insane
also
how they.
a nice little, not a parallel, but it's a nice little callback uh, to the first game when Atreus held off on the shot for the deer, and Kratos was like yelling at him,
yeah,
Oh.
for not
yeah, for
doing
Oh
sure.
that.
my God. Yeah. I didn't think of it.
You're
I didn't thought
welcome,
of that.
Walt. You're welcome.
No, that's like I love that type of parallel where it's like so like when it's about them and the growth that they've been through, and you see Kratos react a different way from how no, that's insane. No, that's crazy. No, now I'm
You're
happy.
welcome. You're welcome.
Thank you.
Big
Well,
brain
not
energy,
you,
bud.
but thank
Big
the
brain
game.
energy.
The game did it. You didn't do it. The game did it. But yeah,
Um,
no. So I think I'm glad that this game was able to make me hype excited and cry in the first 3 hours with Fenrir dying.
Okay, so also like
Oh
for
man,
that
yeah.
section, like first of all, did that scene get any of you guys?
Got me teary-eyed.
I'm a new dog owner, and Fenrir
I have a
looks
dog.
just Fenrir looks just like Harley. So yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And my dog sometimes when he's sick, he will not eat his food and we get incredibly worried. So seeing that I'm like, "Oh my God, I hope he's okay." And then I went down and I saw him, he was okay, he was playing.
Your dog's just knobbing like on a toy or something as you cry to the scene.
I went down and he was just, like I went down the stairs and just heard squeaking. He like came up to me and tried to play with me. I'm like, oh, thank God. Yeah, but it didn't get
um,
you, so
I actually don't remember. I have to look back at that stream. Yeah, it's been so long, man. Yeah, I actually don't remember. I feel like it might have, but it wasn't like I wasn't like bawling my eyes out
Oh no,
right,
you
right.
cried a
yeah.
lot. You cried a lot. You brought out the tissues and everything. I remember.
Oh
Yeah,
damn.
Yeah,
probably bought a
yeah,
dog
Um,
right after that.
yeah. What a little
yeah.
bitch.
Damn. But I did want to bring up because I don't know if I realized this the last time we talked about it was the little sort of like blue little things that came out of Fenrir when
Mm.
Atreus said that spell. And it's also very interesting that this is, and I think it's been alluded to that this is something that Atreus has done in the past. I'm not too positive about that, but it's also very interesting that obviously this was something that Kratos was able to see and Atreus wasn't. I'm very curious as to like why is that exactly the case? Why was Kratos the only one able to see that? Like if Mimir was out there, would he have been able to see that? But yeah, so very very curious about like what that thing. I'm guessing because now that I have the whole Ironwood section in my rear view window, um, it's obviously like Fenrir's soul. So like I wonder, at least I think it is, but I think or I wonder like what like Fenrir is probably going to come back in some shape or form because he's just too important of a figure. I mean, he has such a large role to play in like the overall, tale of Ragnarok that like it absolutely floored me when he died in like the first hour. I was like like literally all my expectations of like what this game could be like went out the window in the first hour because of that. So like yeah,
Well,
I
Santa
definitely
Monica hates dogs. Wow.
so like I definitely feel like with that scene that Fenrir has to come back in some shape or form. But then also like knowing about Ironwood, it's like that little soul wasn't spoken or put into like one of those little orbs that Angrboda had. So like is that soul just like floating in the air like a balloon or something that a kid lost or like what's going on or did someone grab it and then put it into something else or like I don't know, man. So yeah, that scene definitely means like this is kind of like what I mean about my very first question to you guys is that like getting to play later parts, it's like I get to look back at earlier scenes and be like, oh, okay, so now I have a little bit more context on
There
a
you go.
scene like this now that I played through Ironwood.
Yep.
um
Yeah,
so
that's
yeah.
the whole game. Literally, play the you beat the game once. You need to play it one more time to kind of like it's like Attack on Titan, right? You watch
Yeah.
the anime, and then you're like, wait, they've been setting this up this whole time, and then you rewatch season one. It's like, oh my god, all the clues are there. How did I see this? Like the first vision
Yeah.
Eren gets. Like it's insane. It's insane. But I mean, with your point, you did Ironwood. Just quick aspect of that. You mentioned the soul thing. We have some of that going on in Ironwood as well, with soul transferring and whatnot, uh, that you mentioned. But we'll get to that once we chronologically get to that. Uh, what's next after? I mean, are we done with the beginning part, or do we want to touch more on that?
Yeah, I mean I think I've said everything that my thoughts on that
Okay.
section. um
Uh,
uh, One last thing, because there's a lot in this section, but I
no
really
worries.
love sort of, and this is sort of like the what will become my assumption, the main sort of conflict for the rest of the game is Kratos versus Atreus, like this idea of like uh Atreus being like, "Oh, my father, won't listen to me," but Kratos saying, that he's trying to protect his son to an overbearing degree that he won't let his son really go out there and express himself and have, some agency, some freedom, right? And those two sort of like ideologies kind of clashing, which is natural, when you're a parent and you're seeing your kid, growing up. It's hard to let the bird leave the nest, so to speak, right? Um, and to see that conversation that they have with each other after Fenrir dies, of you know uh, Atreus wanting to go out and learn about Loki and wanting to find Tyr and all this stuff, and Kratos saying, that he's not going to allow him to pick a fight with gods, and things like that. I really love how that sets up, sort of like what their conflict is going to be for the rest of the game. So yeah, I really really love that scene. Um, but yeah, let's move quickly to Thor. I don't know if I have any other thoughts, but Macho, what you wanted to say something about Thor?
Yeah, I mean, it gave us one of the best moments of the year, and that was when Kratos literally died in the fight, and Thor reviving him with his hammer. Like, I cannot get enough of reactions to this one part in the boss fight. I love the entire boss fight in general because they throw out really, especially in the last section, they throw out a lot of hints and nods where Thor is saying to Kratos, like, this feels familiar. And Kratos is like, what? And then the whole point of why Moldy died, and what's his name? What's it, Moldy?
Modi.
Modi.
Magnum Modi. But Modi's the one that, yeah, because of
Yeah, it's
Thor's
yeah,
wounds.
and but that again, when the Leviathan and Mjolnir clash, and they have kind of like that roundabout, like I'm walking one way, you're walking the other. Like I love that face off so much. It works so well, like in situations like this, even if it's like a little cliche. But I just love how they're kind of like going back and forth of like you weren't a good dad, and then Thor's like, look at you talking to me about being a father. Like it's just that entire fight is just so layered. Not only just really fun fight mechanics and obviously that really cool like Kojima trick of thinking that you just actually lost the fight, but it actually was Kratos dying, and then the whole dialogue between the two. What a opener! Like I didn't think it could top 2018's opening, but this just blew it by a mile for me.
And both times Kratos got shot into the sky. This man can, this man got sucker punched both times.
Yeah, I also like the fact that Mjolnir can be called with a snap. I think that's pretty like it's a really cool like sound design to use for Thor. I wonder if that's like intentional or that's just like a flair thing for him, like how it is in regular the MCU stuff. Thor could just literally reach out his hand and Mjolnir goes to him. But for this Thor, he has to like snap his fingers. I think that's a really cool detail.
I wonder what a MCU empty world would look like receiving this game. Because I know that a lot of the comparisons that people will always do, obviously, and I did as well. When you play this game, the only other reference you have, unless you read books, is Chris Hemsworth Thor, Loki, and Odin, and whatever other gods show up in Greek or Norse mythology in that, like Thor: Love and Thunder, you have Zeus and whatever. So like, I wonder what it would look like and how people would receive this game if we didn't have those counterparts. Because I know a lot of people now are like, oh no, this is the Thor. Fuck Chris Hemsworth, this is the Thor. Like this is my Thor or whatever. And I get the sentiment, but for me, it's more of I can appreciate this Thor a bit more in the sense that it's a bit more serious because MCU is a lot more toned down. But that Thor had its moments of seriousness and whatnot, but it got cartoony now. But I really appreciate the iterations of the characters. I haven't read Norse mythology, or I know you two have, so I don't know how accurate Odin and Thor are. But I really like both Odin and Thor's portrayal in this one, and the performers they got. Ryan Hurst and Richard Schiff are incredible in this.
Yeah, what do you think, Soul? Does I mean I know for a fact that Odin's iteration is vastly different from what I imagined when reading the book that I told you about.
Hmm.
But Thor was like really on point.
Yeah, yeah. I think Thor is like, yeah, he's great. He's exactly how I imagined him to be. Um, I mean, he's always been depicted as a big drunk in the poems and the Eddas, so I think they did a pretty good job with him. Odin, to be honest, I need to read a lot more about him because I'm a little less familiar with him. Um, but I want to say that they definitely got the sort of
Wanderer kind of.
yeah,
Yeah, traveler,
yeah,
unassuming.
but also like because his whole character, and we've talked about this before, but his whole character is this sort of desperation of doing whatever it takes to avert his gaze, right? Because the thing is that everyone knows, him included, that Ragnarok is the thing that will happen, and it spells the end of him and all the Aesir gods. So he's literally on this quest to do whatever it takes to avert his own fate from happening. Um, and I think yeah, they definitely done a good job of like showing that desperation on him, just like even in the way that he talks, right? He very much has like a very like skittish way to like how he talks, right? Like very on edge at all times almost. Um, so and even like the scenes where he's not even present, just hearing, you know, Mimir talk about him, hearing Freya talk about him, I think does a really good job of like supporting just like my idea of what that character should be like. Um, so yeah, yeah,
Yeah, good stuff on that first section. There's a lot to it. There's a lot going on in those first 3 hours. Um,
yeah. So I mean, after that, yeah, after the whole Odin and Thor scene, where do we go next? It's Sindri's house, right?
I believe so. Do we, Macho? Where do we go now?
Yeah, I think so. I think we go to Sindri's house and kind of that's like because we had to have a new base since the old one got sort of destroyed after Odin. Even after he gives us a little gold coin, it's like yeah here, kind of thing. Like this pay, I'll pay for the damages kind of thing.
Throws
Um,
that out. Yeah.
yeah, and he throws it. Yeah, um, yeah. We had to. I would assume that next is Sindri's house and kind of set base over there with our two favorite dwarves. And then
Yeah,
after that, we head to Svartalheim. So
yeah. So I don't know if there's really much to say about this scene. I love the snack line of Kratos. He does not want a snack. Um, which is like an overall feeling I have this on this game in general. At least that first section is that like this game is a lot funnier than I feel like the first game was.
so
Yes.
much, yeah,
Yeah, yeah, which is great. Um, but yeah, yeah. So we establish base. We get reacquainted with the two dwarves, Brock and Sindri, and then we are pretty quickly on our way to Svartalfheim, which is a gorgeous little area. Um, I had a blast just like doing the side quests there. You know, the one with the whale, the one with the sort of like three like smoke plumes or whatever that Emir was kind of responsible for setting up with the dwarves. Um,
yeah.
yeah, so I mean, what was your guys' first impression coming into to? I mean, this is you know, we always assumed that we were going to explore all nine realms, and this is the first time that we're going to not only, you know, to another realm, but a realm that we've never been to before. So, what was your guys' impression of it?
Quick, just want to prime my memory. What's the objective right now when we go right to Svartalheim?
Tier.
Okay, we're looking for tier. Very important. This is what's setting up the game in motion right now. Uh, because in the conversation, the prior, that's the whole point why Odin and Thor were there. Because Loki has been, or Atreus rather, has been looking for Tyr, and apparently he's been kept in the mines of Svartalheim. Uh, Macho, want to kick off? What you thought about this section? And very careful.
Yeah, I know. Extremely careful. Yeah, overall, I thought it was a great level, great introduction to kind of get your feet wet with everything that's going on because it immediately introduced you to a new enemy types, which is like the spitters, which are can be very annoying too. But again, it's great that they kind of give you some opposition in that gameplay department because you already have so many options available to you. with the Blades of Chaos, Leviathan Axe, and the new types of shields that you're getting since Freya's shield it broke. Which to my gameplay sense, I immediately went to the one that allows you to parry and what was it, like exert out like a force of energy that just does so much damage. I just love that kind of like high risk, high reward gameplay. So I love that gave me that option right from the get go. Just say like, hey, you want this kind of gameplay style? Well, here you go, use it. And I absolutely did for like the entirety of the game because it was so much fun. But the entire level itself, I thought it was really fun and cool. It felt like it went on for a little too long in certain parts of it, especially when you're in the caves trying to find Tyr. I thought that kind of meandered just a tad bit, but overall, I thought it was a lot of fun. And I just want to say before I kick it off to you guys that I absolutely love that Bear McCreary is in this game, and he's one of the dwarfs.
Oh, I thought you were gonna take it a different direction and say that you love the Svartalheim like theme song. That song
Yeah,
fucking
but
slaps, dude.
yeah, yeah,
It
the
goes
dwarf
so
theme.
hard. Goes so hard.
It's so cool that so whenever you watch Rings of Power, pay attention to the dwarfs theme in that in a show again that Bear McCreary actually composed the music for, because they sound the same but with different tones and beats to them, but you can spot the DNA in each of those music pieces, which I love, because it's like that's Bear McCreary's version of what dwarves sound and feel like, and you can see the similarities between God of War and Rings of Power, but for God of War, it's so good. And again, it's him using that weird ass instrument in the game. And as soon as I heard his voice from one of the dwarves that's playing the instruments, I was like, no way, they put him as Rave as one of the characters in this game. That's so cool. That's just like that to me. Svartalheim is like that's one of the highlights of that entire level was seeing Bear McCreary. I thought that was so rad.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
I sound like a 50-year-old saying rad, but it's okay.
Um, but yeah, so I mean, we kind of quickly go to to on the journey to find Tyr, who is Atreus is kind of narrowed down, is imprisoned here in Svartalfheim. Um, we take a little like dwarven little train on some tracks to one of the mines, and after a series of puzzles that I I was not too fond of, um,
You don't like puzzles? Oh man.
I don't know, man. Like,
What's with this generation not liking puzzles, Walt? What's going on?
I think it's that, and I'll be honest, I can see it with like this type of game where my reward in this game is the story, and for me to get to the story, it's like Dark Souls, right? I feel good beating a boss because I know I'm gonna get more after that. When I finish like a level here or waves of enemies, I'm gonna get more story. When I'm doing a puzzle, I feel like the game stops, and I'm like, okay, I'm not going anywhere until I finish this. And they're not hard. They purposefully did not make. They made these puzzles extremely easy with the constant back seating. Uh, I think if you shoot this, it's like I've been here 2 seconds. Give me a second.
Yeah, real
Let
talk.
me shoot.
You won't even step into the next area, and then Trace is like, "Shoot that, father." I'm just like, "Come
Shoot
on,
that,
dude."
father. Try hitting the lever. And I'm like, why don't you try shutting the fuck up?
Oh,
oh,
Jesus
whoa, god
Christ!
damn.
Goddamn.
Walt's a little
Bro,
emotional in this.
there were
Yeah.
moments where legit I was like, because I have my headphones on, and I have this like full blast because of the music and the incredible atmosphere environment, and then all I hear is, "Brother, you're on fire. It'll pass. Brother, you're on fire. It'll pass. Bro, why don't you shut up, you head? What if I just throw you away? You can't do nothing."
You're crackling a little bit, Walt. By the way.
Yeah,
No,
because I'm so emotional.
it's because he's screaming. That's why.
'Cause I'm so emotional. Sorry guys, I get passionate when motherfuckers backseat me. But yeah, no. I don't know. It's fine. The whole section is pretty big. The mines, I thought they were gonna end, and then they didn't, and they kept going for a minute. I was like, okay, we could cut some of this. But then when you get to actually to Tyr, it's pretty rewarding to meet him and see a very, very, very different version of Tyr than what I expected. At
Oh
least.
man, I was like, who is this man? This is the God Awards.
This is your warrior? This your man's?
Yeah. How you?
This is your man's right here? What's going on? I love. We'll talk more about it. Just real quick, I love when Kratos picks him up. What is it? Master yourself. Are you not a soldier? Are you not a leader of men? And you just see him really like, okay, this is the general right here talking. Yeah, put some respect. Tyr, put those shoes on and put those pants on. We need to get out of here. My man rises like 100 feet up because he's so tall, but he's so small inside, and I love that. He's tall in physicality, small in personality.
But you can't even blame him though. After like, I mean, you don't know how many years that he's been imprisoned here.
Like Freya, that she's been imprisoned in the realm for like thousands of years. No,
but I would argue his is even worse because he's confined. He's confined literally to such a small space, and he's so big, so like it makes that space like even worse for him too, right?
He's uncomfortable. He needed a bed in there.
And like when he says what trickery is this, Odin, it made me assume that like Odin has visited him several times, and kind of similar to Mimir, that he's probably tortured him or sent hallucinations his way or things like that to make his time in this little prison even worse than it needs to be.
100%.
Sure. Yeah. So I understood why he was like that from the jump,
And I love the difference because we only ever had one other person in mind when thinking about a God of War. Not only Kratos, you think of Ares. Such a different stark comparison the first time meeting him versus this, but it makes sense, and it goes to show that the struggles in this game and in this duology is not physical; it's purely emotional. The biggest battles in this case are within. And the biggest obstacles are also that, as Thanos would say, the toughest choices require the strongest wills, or whatever the hell he said,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's an iconic line.
Yes, sir. But yeah, man. Macho, what do you think about this, the puzzles and all that?
I mean, we said before, I think this level could have been shortened down quite a bit. But because eventually, I mean, I don't know. There's like when it comes to stuff like like this, it kind of reminds me of like. Don't laugh at me. Kingdom Hearts 3, where like the sense of urgency in that game feels non-existent despite it being set up in the beginning. For
only at the end, only literally at the very, very last mission do I feel any urgency.
Right, and then for God of War Ragnarok, I didn't feel that sense of urgency. The fact that Ragnarok was coming, stuff like that, right until maybe to like the Ironwood section. And then that's where like the story like really kicks off, and it's like one after another the story beats. But for this one, it's like the search for Tyr, and then it feels like we're going through all Svartalheim just to we need to hurry up. We need to find Tyr before Odin catches up or Thor catches up with us, and that's why it kind of felt like it meandered a little bit since there was that sense of urgency. But once we found him,
let them take a dip in the pool, man. You gotta let them take a dip in the lake, man. Let them have a pina colada. They're chilling, man.
I think what probably kind of made me feel like that though was the fact that in Svartalheim, since it is big, you have so many stuff you can do. So maybe it felt long because I made it intentionally, and I was doing
your
like
fault.
It's probably because I was actually I was doing like a lot of the side content. It was like a lot of fun. I do love the story beats, so that gives you that option of like, hey, if you want to, you can kind of thing. And as Svartalheim is like a small piece of this entire game where the side content really does matter. It's not even comparable. Like at Svartalheim is a very small piece of like, oh, this mission's fun. This mission's fun. You get a lot of backstory, Mimir and like his influence with the rest of the gods and stuff like that. But man, there's so much that just unravels the more you do side content. It's absolutely amazing. People laugh when like you compare it to Witcher 3 because Witcher 3's side content is obviously really damn good. But I would say God of War Ragnarok has just as much of an impact as Witcher 3.
Yeah, because I think it adds to the main story and the main premise. Because I feel like in this many times in RPGs or just world worlds, the universes in the video games, you have two very starkly different sections, and you have the main story in that environment, and you have side story in that environment, which is where like Witcher and God of War, and I think even Horizon to some extent adds to the overall narrative because you see people affected by the main story, whereas you have stuff like Cyberpunk where the main story feels like a smaller story than the overall just side story, just uh, extravaganza you have in the whole world. So it's like I don't know. I like it when side content adds to the main narrative and it's not completely separate. And I think
Right.
in here, the more you play side content, I don't feel like it slows down in the sense when I play side content. When I felt that it slowed down a little bit was during the mines because I'll be frank, I got lost at some point. I was like, wait, where do I go? Like, I went up here already. I have to go. Oh, the damn platforms. Okay, let me freeze the water. Let me let it trickle here. Let me move this over here. And like it's a few seconds, but I'm always like moving like forward. So, you stop me in my tracks, I'm like, oh, okay, it's whatever. But I like the section. Continue.
Oh,
No, no, not that way. No, no, no.
Oh my god,
I
you're
just
crackling.
realized what
Shut
I
the
said.
fuck up, Walt. You're crackling so much.
Oh no, my
Actually,
bad.
no, it's so you know what's really funny about that was
What?
was Walt called me earlier in the week and I'm his mommy now.
oh my God.
What?
Yeah, I'm his mommy.
Oh.
He's like Walt's like I meant to call my mom, but then I saw in my phone macho and then I clicked and I called you by mistake. I was like, oh, so I'm your mommy now.
Yeah,
Okay.
sorry for being busy and not paying attention, asshole.
But I'm his mommy now. Um,
Crazy.
welcome to part two.
Wait,
But
what?
not the real part two.
No,
Part
not the real. I know. I apologize. For
1.2.
some reason, my internet just went dead for like a minute, and then it kickstarted back up. Um, we don't have this problem on Discord, so you might have to switch our podcast to Discord for 2023. So, because PlayStation doesn't know how to keep a Wi-Fi. But yeah, let me check the sound real quick, and then we get started where we were. And the last thing that we were talking about was when I was asking Soul if he liked the Witcher 3 side quests uh, or like the God of War Ragnarok side quest as much as Witcher 3, and it had the same amount of impact. So, go.
Um, I feel like I haven't done enough of them to like really make like a clear to choose one or the other. For right now, I'd still say The Witcher 3 still has like far and away my favorite side quests over Ragnarok, but Ragnarok's like they're no slouch either. Like they're also like pretty damn good as well.
Yep, I
Like
agree. Cause
there are side quests in The Witcher 3 that I remember over main mission stuff, you know. Um and
Mhm.
like for Ragnarok, like yes, there are I mean I just did the whole, you know, Freya's missing piece side quest and that was really really cool. That's a fantastic side quest actually. Um but yeah, I don't know. I still need to do a lot more of them for sure.
Yeah, you haven't gone. Yeah,
Yeah, makes sense.
the second half of the game is definitely where you're gonna see the. Not even then. I think post game, like post the end game content, like there's more stuff there that you can kind of more appreciate as well. Uh, yeah, it's very
Absolutely.
different approaches to side content for sure. Whereas this one is very much aligned with the main content. I feel like The Witcher's side content is it just takes place in the same area, and although maybe the main story doesn't affect it, the main situation does. The war, essentially. Whether I mean, this is of course you're in White Orchard or Velen. If you're in Vizima or in Skellige, there are very different situations going on in those areas. But that same situation affects the entire section, if that makes sense. So like the war affects the entirety of White Orchard, and anything you experience in White Orchard is due to either the war or past conflict that led to the war. Whereas God of War, it's generational. Uh, yeah, kind of the same. With like how Freya, visited the remnants of her wedding and all this. So it's stuff that took place in the past, but it's affecting the future. Uh, so time travel, if you may say, ha ha ha, but not really. Ha ha ha. Oh, well.
So I guess we can kind of like move on from this realm in general, right? Because we're able to convince Tyr to join the group, right?
Yep.
He,
Um, cool. So yeah, so
Bro's
we
crying
got
the whole way. He's crying the whole time.
it was a cool scene because like as you're kind of like pulling on that chain to like get the little boat across with you, Atreus, and Mimir, the Einherjar are like just shooting down from like the sky with that like rainbow kind of like trail that they leave. So I thought that was like a really really cool moment to see them for the first time. Um, there's also and like when you first meet Tyr, and he's like he's got the rope around his neck and all and that whole scene. I just love the like the first thing that he says to that we get to see him say is the whole like I know you, God killer. Like I don't know
Yeah.
why, but like that scene just gives me chills because like obviously we know that Tyr was someone who was able to not only travel between realms, but he was someone who got to travel the entire world in general and got to experience these different cultures and pantheons and stuff like that. We even got to see, he had a Greek wine in his vault, but also he had, a vase with Kratos on it in his vault. Um, so yeah, and then there was also that one Jotnar shrine that had the Greek symbol for war, uh, the Japanese symbol for war, the Celtic symbol of war, and then there was like one other one on that Jotnar shrine. But yeah, he's the Egyptian one, the Egyptian one. So yeah, we know he's someone who's been around a lot, and I don't know, I just really really love that line. Um, so yeah, we have Tyr. We make it back to Sindri's house. Um, kind of the actually so this is when they have the whole dinner scene, right?
Oh yeah, I love that part.
Yeah, yeah. So they have their dinner scene. Very, very. I was kind of like thinking about it. Is like, have we ever seen Kratos just like sitting down and like having a meal with like other people?
That was
Like,
the one thing that blew my mind. I was like, this man's eating.
yeah, yeah. I don't think we've seen that. Um, yeah. So it was very funny. Tyr being there and being like he remembers that food tasting better than this. Um, and he was also like, "Is this sausage?" And Brock's just like, "Sure."
Yeah. Brock has some of the best lines in the entire game.
Yeah, he's great. So yeah, we had the dinner scene. Everyone goes to bed. Kratos, is talking with Mimir because obviously he's struggling with, again that this whole idea of like letting his son go, letting his son kind of be independent and spread his own wings, so to speak. And he's talking to Mimir about it. And then this is kind of the first time when we get to play as Atreus. So did this blow your mind? Because it definitely did blow mine.
Yeah, I mean, it was one of those slight spoilers from reviews that I've heard about. So it wasn't a complete surprise, but the lead up to it and like the actual panning of the camera to where Atreus, I'm like, oh, is this it? Are we gonna play as Atreus now? And it actually was that. I was like, that's such a sweet transition to play as another character. Because again, we're on this one shot the entire time, so my mind was just racing of how we're gonna switch back without doing any camera cuts, and it does it so effortlessly. Like Eric Williams is a motherfucking beast. Like it's true in every sense of the fashion, man. What's up, Press Alpha? Thanks for joining the stream, man. Um,
So this is now the third Sony mainline game that tells you, hey, here's the second playable character. Because I remember the first time being Spider-Man, I think, with Miles, that you just switched to Miles for that one section. I'm like, oh,
and Mary Jane.
well, that, and Mary Jane, yeah. I'm like, oh, wait a minute. Oh, that's what's. And then Last of Us does it with Abby. We're like, oh, whoa, there's a whole new campaign here. And now God of War, which is, it fits. It fits. I like this trend of surprise second protagonist being playable. You know, it's cool. I like it.
Yeah, I mean, I think his gameplay is just so much fun too. Like they made him super nimble, and his combos are just bouncing enemies while shooting off an arrow. Like all this stuff is like so slick and cool that I just did not expect. And one of my favorite things about Atreus, and I think the same thing for you, Soul, is his dodge.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
His dodge is just like a quick 360, like he's playing basketball or something. I'm like, yo,
Yeah,
this.
it's cool.
Yeah, I'm like, this boy is slick. And I love it so much. I think his sections are incredibly fun, and what could have been, and it could have been honest to God slog after playing as Kratos and using the Blades of Chaos and Leviathan axe and everything. But the fact that he's it's always fun. Every time you're playing as Atreus, it's always like a fun section, and not only elevates the story, but just elevates his gameplay too, because of the fact that one of his companions is Angerboda and then Sindri. So I think they bring a lot to the table that actually makes it really cool and fun and really synergetic between like whoever he's fighting with. So I love it.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah. Yeah, it was definitely like a really really cool surprise for me. Um, yeah, because I feel like I should have expected it, but I just didn't. So, and I love how they did it too, like with Kratos kind of like looking out the window, and then Atreus being like right under there, and then the camera just like going from him down to Atreus, and it's like, no, is this really happening? And kind of like the longer that the camera sticks on Atreus, and then you get that realization like, oh, okay, this is totally happening. So yeah, it was a really cool moment. So we go off with Atreus and Sindri, and we go to speak to the world serpent Jormungandr. So that scene, very cool to see him, my boy, just
Oh
hiding.
yeah.
He's apparently been not too visible these last few years. He's just kind of been in hiding. But regardless, Atreus, kind of getting more familiar with with his abilities, is just right out the gate able to speak with him, and understand him completely. Like no need for Mimir at this point, which was pretty cool to see just how far he's come along with his abilities. And so the big thing that we got from that conversation was Ironwood. Um, yeah, World Serpent mentions Ironwood. Atreus is obviously confused. I don't know why Jormungandr was being so cagey and so vague. Like, why did he expound upon that? Like, he literally just told him Ironwood and he left. Like, it was like that Hideo Kojima meme where when he showed up to the Xbox showcase, where it's like he shows up, says nothing, doesn't show a new game, leaves. It was like it kind of felt like that a little bit. But yeah, nonetheless, really really cool to see him. Really, I mean, Macho, you kind of touched on this a little bit, but like just playing as Atreus, man, I really, really loved his moveset, and I love how it didn't feel half-assed either. Like it felt maybe not as in-depth as Kratos's, obviously, but it definitely felt like there was a lot there to kind of mess around with, which I really appreciated. It was very much how I felt with Abby once I realized that, oh, okay, this isn't just like a one mission kind of thing. Like, oh no, I'm with her for the long haul, and her skill set, her just how she plays, reflects that I'm gonna be with her for a while. And I felt the same way with Atreus for sure.
Yeah, especially all the stuff that you can unlock. Like I just love his what combo? I think it's triple R1 and R2. But the thing is that he throws in like a ground bounce in there and then fires off an arrow, and pulling that off is so satisfying. Like every time, it doesn't matter when or where. Like just pulling off that combo alone, it's just I always get like little giddies because it reminds me of the Marvel vs. Capcom 3 days where I'm bouncing my opponents left and right, and it's super cool. Yeah, yeah, I totally agree with you.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, and then after some time as playing with Atreus, we meet up with Freya, which I thought was a very bad idea from the start, especially since this man is or this kid I should say is wearing the goddamn thing that killed Balder around his neck like a trophy. I called this out in the breakdown video that I just felt like that was a really weird decision. And like even Atreus explaining why he chose to do that is still like I just still think it's a bad idea. So like I don't know. And lo and behold, once we actually get to talk to Freya, she immediately sees it. So but regardless, I thought this was a really really cool moment. Also says a lot about Freya that she didn't take the opportunity to just, do eye for an eye and just kill Atreus right then and there, right?
Yep.
She actually let him go. So yeah, what did you guys think about this little conversation between these two? Because it was like Atreus doing a exposition dump for Freya. This is, of course, we knew everything that he was saying, but like this was in Freya's case, he's like finding out a ton of like world changing information in like quick succession, just like one after the other after the other. So like she definitely had like her world rocked. It felt like, but yeah, I thought it was a really cool moment. What about you guys?
I appreciate how it kind of subverted my expectations with Freya's reaction, because although she was quite frankly flabbergasted by the news, uh, she stayed strong on her perspective and kind of didn't waver on what she was setting up to do. Uh, and just goes to show just how she snapped, how it's gone for too long. And it's not only it's not only the Baldur situation, it's everything. Her being imprisoned, losing Baldur, Fimbulwinter, like it's all these things, and her feeling, I guess, to some extent, uh, useless. Uh, this is kind of just the one thing she has resolved with. And my big thing with this scene was, it's exposition. I just wanted to see these two interact after everything that's gone on. Like I was like, I wonder how she's gonna treat Atreus. How is she gonna react to seeing him? And of course, she notices him as soon as he just shows up. I think in the realm, and she catches him while he's hiding, and he tries to like just tell her everything in hopes that she's gonna understand. Whereas I don't think that's lack of information that she needed. It's simply lack of mutual understanding and kind of compromise, which it I liked how Atreus learned that just because people know the truth doesn't mean they're gonna change how they're thinking. Uh,
Sometimes it makes it worse.
and in this case, it did kind of, because she was like even madder, and you could kind of see in Atreus' voice like, oh, I think I fucked up. This wasn't a good idea. I don't know why I came here. This I should have stayed, whatever. And then he's kind of not satisfied with the outcome. So, and Sindri was telling him this whole time, and I like that Sindri is kind of like the second father figure, uh, for a majority of this game. When he's not with Kratos and Sindri's around, and it feels so nice to see just different characters interact on a constant basis. And it, to your point, Solv, earlier, that some time has passed, you get a taste of that with Sindri, and how his relationship with Atreus is so different from the first game. Because I guess Sindri, Brock, Mimir, Kratos, they were all involved in Atreus' raising and the time he spent uh, as a kid. So I really like that. What about you, Macho?
Yeah, yeah, it was the same. It was the same way. It's you guys are really just kind of hit on all the points that I would echo, honestly, because that whole contention with Freya, Kratos, and Atreus is was a big lead up to this game and like how everyone would react. So you're always on edge when Atreus wants to do something really reckless, but he has a naivety and kind of like the genuine kindness that not a lot of people have in this world to reach out and see if maybe he can change things. And it's admirable, and at the same time, yeah, it's actually kid reckless. So we kind of just shake our heads at, but I gave him the effort just for trying in general and kind of holding on to hope that no, Freya is our friend. She can help us, and we can help her, and we're all family kind of thing. And Atreus just holds on to belief throughout the entire game, and um, yeah, it's a really like a special light throughout the entire game that Atreus holds on to, and while everyone else really wavers with, especially the Norse pantheon. So yeah, I think that moment just spoke so much, just like where their convictions lie, and especially with Freya being so tip topsy and like where she is and where her head's at, and you can't blame her because everything that's happened to her. So yeah, that was one of my favorite parts. But what happens afterwards, I just absolutely love. Did you have anything else to say?
No, not really. What happened afterwards?
From what I can recall, is when it isn't when Atreus comes back or he's gonna go back to Sindri's house, and he goes through the portal, and then Kratos just walks out.
No. So that's I believe that's after Ironwood.
Oh,
So
okay.
what happens here is they go back to Sindri's place, and they actually make it without Kratos suspecting anything. They sneak back in. Atreus said that he was
Oh,
just
right.
peeing.
Yeah.
Sindri is like at the on the top floor. He's like he pretends that he just woke up. He's like, oh,
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, you're
yeah,
right.
yeah. And I believe that this is another like a eating scene, like they sit down at the table again, maybe. Because this is when Kratos and Tyr have been talking. Like they've been talking about their next move, and that's when they say that they'll go to Alfheim, the land of or the realm of the elves. And Atreus is like caught off guard from this. He's like, "Oh, okay, I thought you hated Alfheim." And yeah, blah blah blah. But yeah, so that then basically their next place is Alfheim with Tyr tagging along. And before we actually get there, we kind of get introduced to a new mechanic, the sort of how we will be traveling from realm to realm, and this is when we meet Ratatoskr for the first time.
Love him. I love this addition. Uh, and the voice actors, ProZD, someone, he's voiced a bunch of stuff in different video games and shows. Most notably, I don't even remember Macho, but he plays the best friend of Kasuya in Yakuza Like a Dragon.
Oh,
Um,
cool.
yeah, the first guy you meet, which is like the best friend. I love him, man, and I know ProCD a lot as a personality. So every time I heard Ratatoskr, I just heard him and I saw him, and I love the how cartoony his voice is, or how very like performative it is, and he's very flamboyant like that, and I love it. I'm a fan. I want a plushie. I want it.
Yeah, he's definitely. I don't think he's probably the best character in the game, but he's one of the most lighthearted characters that brings an extra sense of levity to the entire seriousness of the story. Yeah, he's great. I also just love the fact that every time you ring the chimes, he's like, "Oh, so you called me," and he keep ringing it, and he just gets pissed off. It's one of my favorite parts about that entire interactivity. I just love like when games have like that kind of meta moment, along with the whole Thor and Kratos part, but just the fact of like we can annoy characters to a degree now, and developers are aware of like we'll keep doing something stupid,
And
just
to that same
just
point,
to
real
see
quick,
the
just
same reaction.
Svartalheim, where when Kratos goes for loot, Tyr goes, "Hey, where's
Oh
he going?"
right,
"Oh
yeah.
no, my dad likes loot." And it's like, yeah, that's a video game thing. And
He's
like,
like, yeah, my dad
oh, and
likes
he's like,
loot.
Kratos, oh no, wait, carry on, we'll be here. Well, Kratos is just looting chests and doing puzzles. I love it. I love how it's meta, but it doesn't break the immersion, you know?
Right, yeah.
Yeah, it's cool. But yeah, they agree to go to Alfheim and Ratatoskr. What does he pick? I know he gargles something. What is that?
Whoa,
Whoa!
what?
No,
Whoa,
bro. No,
what?
come on.
Hold on, I gotta put my game on pause.
Come on.
Jesus, yeah,
Come
What?
pause on
on.
that.
Where
Pause on
y'all
that.
Why'd you use
where y'all
that word?
minds at?
Why'd you use that word specifically?
I
Gargle?
don't know.
Really,
That's what
bro?
I thought when I saw him do it.
Whoa.
Jesus.
Jeez. Okay.
Sheesh.
Wow.
Um,
Anyways, he ingests
he
something.
he eats. He could have just said eats, man.
Damn,
he
he
eats.
didn't eat it though.
He eats the resin. He eats the resin.
Resin?
Yeah. So, but also really cool to meet this character. He's also, one of Norse mythology's most like famous figures. The one who kind of tends to the world tree. So yeah, and then with his aid, I also love just like his introduction, just like him crawling all over Kratos. Kratos like grabs him by like the scruff of the neck, and he's just like almost like looks to the camera and is just like no. But regardless, with his help, we are able to go to Alfheim. Um, this is there's a moment later on in this section that is like literally my favorite moment in the game so far. But before we get there, I really love just like walking with Tyr and kind of getting his perspective on things, his knowledge, because he is definitely someone who in sort of various ways has tried to broker peace between, many different factions. So it's cool just having him here and talk about that kind of stuff. But also just like some of my favorite lines here is like having Kratos kind of go off the beaten path and like finding like treasure or boxes or whatever, and Atreus saying, "Oh, my dad likes loot." So like I don't know if you guys ever heard that line, but like Tyr kind of like comments on like, "Oh, where's he going?" And Atreus is just like, "Oh, he really likes loot."
Yeah, I said it earlier, Saul.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, you piece of shit.
Oh, I didn't notice. I I grabbed the pillow. Yeah, I grabbed the pillow when you started talking. Whenever you start talking, man, I had to grab the pillow.
It's Macho.
I wasn't gonna say
really likes
anything.
the
I wasn't gonna say
quiet.
anything. As soon as we started talking about it, I was like, oh, Walt's gonna say something.
Yeah, good.
Oh yeah, I know you guys listen to this. Wait a second. Like, yeah, Macho and I just talked about it, motherfucker.
Oh my god.
I do like that aspect. And I do, as I commented 5 minutes ago.
Walt doesn't Walt doesn't watch Soul streams, and Soul doesn't listen when Walt talks.
I say we're perfect, man.
Oh yeah, no, yeah.
But yeah, so like after that scene, once we actually get inside the temple, can we just talk about like the art direction? Like I love this area in general, like seeing the giant like statues of like the various elves and things like that. I don't know. I think I love this area in the first game, and like in Ragnarok, it's like even better.
1 second. You're talking about Alfheim, right? Sorry.
Yeah, yeah.
No, sorry. I just got a message. That's why. Yeah. I mean, this one was interesting to go through too because Alfheim is like huge as well. I like the outdoor section more than like actually staying inside and doing all the puzzles indoor and stuff like that. But there's a couple of really big story moments in this one too, that really hit home, especially with Kratos going up to the light again and being really not coerced, but like again being tempted to go to being he's tempted to go into the light because he hears Freya.
Get in there. Get in the light.
Because he hears Freya, and it's like another one of those moments where like where you were saying before, so like Kratos absolutely loving this woman. Like it feels so foreign to even utter those words, but the fact that
Faye.
what did I say, Freya?
You said Freya, yes.
Oh, then Faye, excuse me.
I don't think he's over her yet.
But yeah, again, the fact that that Kratos had this immense love for this woman is it's blows my mind. So
Yeah, I mean that's what I was alluding to earlier. That scene is my favorite in the game, like without a doubt. Like I just love how you walk with Tyr and Atreus like the edge of this like platform or whatever, and then like Kratos literally just like being pulled away from that moment because he hears Faye singing, and it's just one of those things where it's just like nothing else in that moment matters to Kratos. It's just like him purely focusing on that, and I love how like her singing just drowns out everything else in that moment, and then just like seeing him slowly walk towards the light again, like that scene gave me chills, man. Like it's such a good scene, and then like seeing Kratos like slow, like even contemplate going back inside there, even though he knew like what it did to him before and how dangerous it was before. Just the fact that like he contemplated going through it again, I think once again tells you everything that you need to know about his relationship with Faye and how much he valued her. But yeah, just seeing his arms slowly kind of reach up to it, and then Atreus, because like you don't see Atreus coming up, right? It's kind of like a surprise, right, of him just like appearing there, and him just like grabbing his dad's arm, and then like once again, props to Sonny Suljic for his delivery in this moment, because like the way that he says, "Father, she's gone," like that scene just like. Oh, it just hits me, man. Like it's so good, man. And then Kratos like just like the look on his face. And I'm so glad that we're at a point with technology now that we can see the little nuances in actors' faces in moments like these, because like just seeing Kratos react to Atreus saying that and him just responding yes, and then just like slowly walking away, like that scene just hits so much for me, man. I don't know how you guys felt about it. I mean, Macho, you said you really loved it too, so yeah,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
yeah.
Well, what did you think about it?
Beautiful. His performances here. No, no, no. Why are you laughing? No, it's beautiful. I always love seeing Kratos incredibly vulnerable, uh, emotionally, and seeing just how that love was so real, and that I'm glad. It reminds me that he was able to love. He was able to actually love someone even after all the shit that he went through. So in this, it's I don't know, it's amazing, it's beautiful, and Atreus being there to comfort him versus the other way around, where it's like the majority of the first game, Kratos is trying to be there for Atreus. This game around, Atreus is trying to be there for Kratos. It's this whole thing of I'm trying to protect you and all that. So I love it, and Tyr just being there like I'm just here, just do your thing, man. Sort that family drama, and I'll be here.
Yeah,
Really nice,
yeah.
really nice.
Yeah, I really like Soul's point too of just where he was saying before how Atreus pulls him aside and saying like, "No, father, like she's gone." Like it really speaks to like their relationship with each other of how much they are there for one another, and it's one of those unsaid things from what we were talking before. How there's a lot of unsaid storytelling in here, and the fact that Kratos and Atreus kind of had like this, they have this bridge with each other that is not rickety nor is it worn out, but it's being built layer by layer and wood by wood, and you see that throughout the entire game. And it once he pulls him aside, it's like no, like she's gone. Like it again, it hits because that bridge is being built as we're seeing it, and it's really beautiful. So yeah, kudos to Sonny on that.
Yeah, for
Beautiful.
sure. So really, like after that moment, I guess we kind of move on to learn about Groa's prophecy. I mean, that was really sort of the whole point of being in Alfheim in the first place, was learning about Groa's prophecy, where we kind of get to learn about this whole thing with the champion of the giants, right? And sort of pointing to Atreus slash Loki possibly having a larger role in Ragnarok than we suspected. But what's really cool is that Groa kept this hidden from Odin. So Odin is working under the assumption that he has Ragnarok figured out, that he has averted it somehow, when in reality, he hasn't. There is a whole other layer to this entire thing that he has no clue about, which is really, really cool. Um, so yeah, we learned about Groa's prophecy, and then also Tyr. Tyr also has a big part to play in this, and this kind of like scares him off. I guess you could say. And he kind of like rejects it. He rejects the prophecy slash destiny altogether. And I think this also goes to like the wider discussion about destiny and whether or not it's something that we all have to adhere to, or if it is something that we can actually change. Kratos believes it is something that we can change, versus literally every other character is saying like, no, destiny is destiny and we have to follow it no matter what. And it's interesting seeing Tyr, like literally his destiny, his prophecy is like laid out right before him, and he's like, no, like this can't be right, and he kind of walks away from it. So yeah, after that though, I can't remember what happened after. You guys remember what happened after learning about Groa's prophecy?
Not specifically. Let me see. Well, do you remember?
Oof. Uh,
I know you got the memory of a goldfish, but
why you ask me?
Yeah, that bird brain in his head.
Yeah, that's why y'all ask me. Yeah, yeah. Do
I
y'all
was
remember? That's why you asking me, because I'm the reliable one here.
I was trying to solve time so I could look at Soul's playthrough. Honestly.
um, but oh god. Okay, so I'm guessing, yeah. So we, after learning about Groa's prophecy, we go back to the realm gate. But like during this whole like our trek back to the Realm Gate, this whole war between the two factions of the elves breaks out. Um, and I think that's pretty much about it. Tyr goes through the gate without us. Once again, kind of rejecting, his destiny, his prophecy. We're free to explore, but
He killed someone. He renounced killing, but he had to kill someone.
It was an
yeah,
elf.
yeah,
It was an elf you had to kill.
yeah.
hmm It's still someone, Macho. God.
I'm not. I'm
Oh
not
man,
dismissing. I'm not
It was an
dismissing
elf.
that.
It wasn't an elf. Well, it's not someone. It's an it.
that
Okay.
sounds like a Blue Lives Matter statement.
Yeah, Macho.
Wow. Wow. Jesus Christ. No, I was just specifying. You're like someone. Someone could be anybody. But he killed an
No, of
elf that
course,
was
of course.
involved in a war. That
You are correct. It was
yeah.
a light elf, I believe.
Yes,
Um,
yeah. It was. I think it
and
wasn't it the boss that you fighting at the end of that
I
section.
don't think it was the boss.
I think it was just one that was trying to kill him, and he was like, "No, no, I don't want to do this," and they just
Yeah,
smokes him. And I like that it got really slow for a moment, and he took his time to walk by through the light bridge and dragging the corpse of the elf. He's
yeah.
just
That
like,
I love that image though. That was one of the images from
yeah,
the trailer that I was so intrigued by. Of like, who are they dragging? You know. So
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
really cool development
Um,
for Tyr.
also, like kind of going back on that story trailer. I think it's really cool in hindsight because like a lot of people were saying like, oh, this feels really, really spoilery and things like that. And I'm like, after seeing like most of those scenes, I feel like that trailer did a really good job of not showing us anything like too important. Like
If
even
anything, there were red herrings. Like you mentioned a lot. Oh man, we see Tyr grab, Blades of Chaos and everything,
yeah,
and it
and
was just him helping him up. That was it.
exactly, exactly.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. That's exactly what I was like. Once I saw that scene, I immediately thought about like what I was thinking about for that trailer like analysis thing. So yeah, that's funny that you said that. Yeah, so I think they did a really good job with that actually.
Absolutely. Goes
Um,
to show there's a lot more in this game than just the
yep,
trailer.
yep. So yeah, we go back to the house and I believe this is when Kratos and Atreus have like a bit of an argument. Once again, talking about like destiny and stuff like that. I don't remember this scene too much, but the one line that I do remember is like they're all at the dinner table or whatever, and Kratos kind of like slams on the table and like is like to Atreus like you are my son, talking about I believe like Atreus wanting to go off and learn more about his prophecy and things like that. Um, so once again, those two kind of things about like Atreus wanting to go out there and spread his wings, but Kratos being really overly protective. Those two things kind of clashing together always. And then I guess this leads right into Ironwood,
Well,
which Macho.
we first
Oh, go ahead.
before we delve into Ironwood, that's when Atreus runs away. That's the first time, right? That Kratos calls him boy.
I don't know.
When he's running away from, was he running away from Kratos?
Yeah,
When he's right as he's gonna go out the gate, he goes, "Boy!" And
yeah,
then he slams himself against the door.
yeah, yeah.
I might be
Wait,
wrong. However, I
I
will
don't
not talk
remember
about
this.
I will not talk more about him running away from Kratos because it happens multiple times, and some of it happens afterwards. I don't want to spoil anything. Anyways,
Then never
continue,
mind. I
Jay.
won't say anything.
Continue, Jay. Yeah, because I know where your mind was going, and we're not talking about that. That's part two. Continue, Jay.
Never
I
mind.
mean, Macho, this is one of your favorite sections of the game. So yeah,
Yeah,
Ironwood,
Ironwood.
man.
Yeah, this was this. A lot of people have contention with this one section in the game specifically because of the pacing of it, and it's understandable to a degree. But this entire section really does pivot the entire story into that Ragnarok is coming, and it gives Atreus so much more of a mission and a focus that and so much baggage too that it really just adds to his character. And I just love Angerboda, man. I think she's so sweet. She's charming and she's immediately likable. She doesn't really know how to interact with people, so she says something really odd to Atreus, and then she's like, "Oh, was that mean?" Like, and she kind of like gets mad at herself for it too. Like, she's so adorable, and I love their relationship through the entire section of it. I think it did a really great job of of one giving us like this really foreign section of the game, kind of like breaking up the pacing a little bit, just to kind of like reset ourselves. But also it gives an introduction to Anger Boda, and it does a really great job of telling us who she is, her motivations, what's a little bit of her background too, which was really fun to be a part of, while also giving Atreus a lot of time to grow those wings that Kratos has been trying to bring down for the better part of the game that we've been playing here. So I think it was just a really masterful section, and including her being a companion to Atreus and those really cool pain attacks that she does. Like, this entire segment to me is like such a highlight, and I know again it's a topic of contention for a lot of people because it slows down the pacing, but to me there's so many layers and so many great things about this one section of the game that really does take off for the rest of us, or for the rest of the game.
Yeah.
It absolutely hit for me.
Yeah, and yeah, they cast a really great actress. Laya did amazing. I love that when Eric Williams talks about the director talks about casting her. Her and Sunny had just immediate chemistry as soon as they were like in the same room. So it goes to show in the performances in the game that they bounce off each other so well, and they feel like they've known each other for since forever, but they don't. You know, it's so and it's nice to see Atreus be a kid. He hasn't had much of that in the last couple of years with everything that's been going on. You know.
Mm-hmm.
Good.
Yeah.
Jay.
Um, yeah, it's a really cool area, just like because it feels like it's like in such a contrast to like everything that we've seen so far in the game up to that point. Um, but also like yeah, as Macho you were saying, like I can and we'll get into it. Like I definitely understand people's gripes with this section. I feel like it would be even worse if like because I felt like I got through like pretty quickly. I don't know about you guys, but I feel like it would definitely be worse if like if you spent like a really long time in this area, that would suck. That definitely would suck. I feel like,
Yeah, some people were
um,
saying that they spent like 4 to 5 hours. I'm like,
yeah,
I went through it in
that's
an hour
insane.
and a half. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, they're
If
just
I
bad
spent
players.
if I spent that long in that area, I feel like I would be with those people. Like I would agree with them,
right.
but I feel like I was out of there like pretty quickly.
They probably died a lot to the wolf. That's it.
The Wolver?
Yeah, the wolver.
Uh,
Probably because he was kind of a pain in the ass.
That dude was a pain in the ass to
I mean,
face
I
in
was
that
playing on
fight.
hardball too, so like I died twice as much.
Yeah, these are the give me God of War difficulty wannabes. And they're like, oh,
Oh
it took me
yeah,
4 hours.
yeah.
You know?
Even Eric Williams said it too, where like he was kind of against having people play on Gimme God of War for the first time, but they decided just to go with it anyway because choice and all that stuff. But he would say like for some people that complain about certain sections, and you ask them what difficulty you play on, they're like, oh, give me God of War. And it's like, well, that's kind of why. Like, if you spend like 5 hours on one boss and you think the story pacing's a little off base, that's because you've been trying to beat the boss for like the past 5 hours. So
Yeah. And I think that this section, without this Ironwood section, I mean, the game just doesn't make sense because this just adds more nuance to Loki and more nuance to who he wants to be and who he is. And we get a huge story beat with Angerboda and all the paintings that she has, how she's essentially kind of like, she is writing the prophecies of the visions of her mother. Uh, we get the giant situation with the marbles. Like, there's so much in this section that I actually really, really enjoyed this section, even in the slower moments when you're on Yala and you're going through the swamp and you're just with Angerboda talking and, you get off over here and you fight with her and her attacks being paint based and the whole battlefield getting painted. Like, I loved all of it. I really enjoyed this section. I don't know what the big deal was. I can see how it might be slow, but I don't know. I don't get it. I don't. I'm a gamer. I'm not a poser. Continue.
um,
just had to put that
so
out
like
there, Walt.
the big sort of revelation in this scene was the fate of the giants. We thought that Odin and Thor were responsible for their deaths, and we kind of come to find out that essentially had their souls whispered into these like little orbs or kind of like or marbles or whatever.
Marbles, yeah.
And and so yeah, and one of the prophecies was saying that you know, this would have to be passed on to Atreus at some point, and it would be his responsibility, and that eventually he would come to know what to do with these when the time came. And I mean, yeah, that was a really crazy, like,
Reveal.
yeah, yeah, really, really cool reveal because yeah, we were working under the assumption all of 2018 that you know the giants were gone, that Atreus was the last giant, and come to find out that like they are still technically here, right?
Yeah,
In a form, yeah, not in their giant form, but in just a soul. So
it's a collection
it's a collection of
of
souls, and
souls and
there's more.
Nebula marbles.
And there's apparently more because there are some indications that dialogue that there's more out there because Loki Atreus found one and he gave it to Angrboda. He was like, "Oh no, yeah, I have had this." Which then we cut to the beginning of the game where he's holding a little ball, and it's like, "Oh wait, there's more to this." So
Hmm.
I like that. I like, I don't know, it's such a simple premise, but it's so impactful with like having believed that they died when reality no, they're still here. They're just they're little blue balls.
Yeah, but it gives so much more purpose to Atreus too. Of
Absolutely.
like there's more that they want to prevent Ragnarok so badly that because now there's another, not only because he just learned that his father dies by his hand, or the case may be not by his hand, but he just dies after Ragnarok,
On
stuff like
in
that.
his arms, like the prophecy, yeah.
Right, yeah, but now there's more to this now. There's unfinished business that Atreus has, and it keeps growing. I'm not only just trying to keep his dad alive, but the fact that the giants are still out there, and what can he do about that? So, again,
Yeah, he
big
struggles a
story
lot
point
with
just
that.
from Angerboda in general.
Absolutely. And he struggles a lot with that in this section, and then later on you and we'll get to that, but with the grandma section and how he keeps like questioning what his purpose is and all that. Which so what did you think about that fight
With the grandma.
with the grandma? Yeah.
Um, I thought it was like aesthetically really really cool. Like I love that it was like in her kitchen, and I love that feeling, like almost like I don't know, like Little Nightmares kind of
Oh my
feeling
God, you
where
took it out of my mouth. What the fuck? I was about to
Pause.
say,
What?
hey yo, remind me of
yo,
six.
what's going on with Walt this podcast, man? Like god
Listen,
damn, you've said
listen,
you
y'all have your minds in the gutter. Y'all have your damn minds in the gutter. It's not my fault that, school has been stressful. I know you down bad, but let's not talk about that. Okay?
yeah.
Man, you need to get off the Harry Potter ride, dog. Just
Hey
chill.
yo,
Let's
no. You on
relax.
that Hogwarts, man. You see that collector's edition, you want to stand on that wand? God damn.
Whoa,
Oh my god.
Macho.
The way the macho, the way that he said that, it was so like disrespectful. You want to stand on that wand?
my man's doing an SNL skit, man.
Yeah.
I had that at the tip of my tongue, is how you
I'm
say it.
sure you did. Oh, jeez.
Listen, buddy. Uh, no, it gave me six vibes. Like, that's the name of the Little Nightmares, a little girl.
Yeah,
Where you're
cuz
just trying to avoid a giant monster.
yeah, but also that feeling of like you being small while like everything else around you is like
It's
really
big.
big. Yeah, you know what I mean? So like
Yeah, the
that was a
kitchen is
really
huge.
yeah, that was a really cool feeling. Um I also kind of felt bad for the grandma as well. Um
Yeah.
just knowing the shit that she knows, like I feel like it would drive someone mad eventually. Um but regardless, yeah, I thought it was a really cool boss fight, and then also like specifically talking about Angrboda, I also felt really bad for her because it was like, you know, Atreus, like he's almost like she's passing the torch to him, you know, to carry on this huge responsibility of the fate of the giants. And it's like that specifically was Angrboda's purpose in her life. That's like what in the prophecies, that's like what she was foretold to do. And after that, it's like your purpose is done. You know what I mean? So like for her, it's like once she accomplished her destiny, what she was born to do, it's like is she just like useless now? Like, what is her role in all this after she's completed that? So like, I felt really bad for her because like she was kind of really messed up about that. That after she sort of like completed her life goal, I guess, right?
Yeah, and her that scene with her like just blank stare into space and like thinking about she used to bring me food, she
I
used to
love
do
that scene
this,
so much.
she
Yeah,
used to, and you can just see her how she's holding on to dear life to not snap, and just take it all in, and how traumatized this girl has to be with the insane burden she has on her shoulders of carrying on this prophecy and dealing with all these things on her own, which I like that they walk that fine line of her being incredibly independent and capable, but also being very vulnerable and very, very broken inside. So I like that scene. I love that scene a lot. And the grandma. Oh, let's not skip this scene. In that section, we have a soul transferred into an animal in
Yeah.
that section. What did you think about that? So tell us your thoughts about that section, that little area.
I mean, I don't know if I really have much to say. I guess I just wonder. I wonder where that snake went. You know, like, but
yeah,
like,
that was really crazy.
yeah, I do wonder because like, if I'm remembering correctly, like during Ragnarok, Loki is supposed to lead like an army of, I believe, like a mixture of things, but like yeah, he has an army, like, and part of that army is made up with giants, I believe. I may be remembering that wrong, but like I know for a fact that he's sailing on the Naglfar, which is a ship made out of like the bones of dead men, and like that's what he uses, to like reach Asgard, I believe, during Ragnarok. But like
Whoa,
I do
that's
believe
gnarly.
that like yeah, so like my line of thinking is that like in some form or another, he's going to use those souls to like build up his army. Once Ragnarok actually does start, kicking off. But yeah, so it was nice to see, like, it felt like the beginnings of that start to happen, with that snake. Um, and also like it was also really just sad seeing like those like multiple animals just like having their
Soulless.
soul, yeah, soulless, and them just kind of like they're drooling on themselves, like
Yeah.
that shit always kind of fucks me up because they reminded me of a book that I read that had a similar sort of thing with their world, that they just use animals who are like that all the time. And yeah, I don't know, that stuff always kind of makes me a little sad.
Yeah, when it's like just a husk or a shell of what it
Yeah.
used to be, but it's still like the person is still there. They just can't do anything in a way, you know? Yeah, no. When you mentioned, yeah, yeah, it's insane. Yeah, yeah. Sad, exciting, traumatizing. What doesn't this level have? This level
Yeah,
has it
for
all.
sure.
Yeah, this level's literally like a whole movie, a whole movie's worth of
Absolutely.
just of of what you're experiencing. As I said, it's one of my favorite parts of the entire game. It's incredible.
I agree.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, I mean, we also didn't really talk about another really really cool moment was before we even reached the grandmother, um, Atreus seeing the rest of the little bit of the prophecy back in Jotunheim, where obviously we saw the whole journey of God of War 2018 laid out on the wall in Jotunheim. The part when they're at the stonemason, when they're fighting Balder, when they meet the world serpent, and then of course the stinger being Kratos seeing seemingly his own death on that part of the wall that's being covered. Atreus sees it for the first time here in Ironwood, but like we get the full picture of it this time, and Atreus's like reaction to it, man, like him seeing him holding his dad in his arms, Thor standing over them, and him just kind of like freaking out and like turning into a wolf and like clawing at the wall, and
Yeah,
Angrboda being the one having to like calm him down. I really really love that moment.
yeah, same here. Yeah, same here. Again, you get more layers to Atreus and him not really controlling his transformation powers. At the same time, they're all just voiced through his emotions, and that was one of them. And it's dangerous, but at the same time, it's also super damn cool that we can see Atreus have this other really dope power, the transformations, and seeing how like it kind of funnels into what we see on screen. So yeah, super cool stuff, man.
Love
Yeah.
that race too. Really cool race.
Yeah. For
I
sure.
was really excited to see you play that part, so because that part gave me goosebumps seeing Angerboda and Loki just transform into the wolf and then just start racing. Like I love that so much. And you hear that amazing song, so you hear freaking Atreus' theme just play in the background.
It's so good. It's so good.
Yeah,
Man.
yeah. Um, yeah, yeah, that song also fucking slaps as well.
Oh yeah.
Um, but there was something else I was gonna say. Oh, okay, yeah. So like, specifically, kind of going back to the whole like wall thing, is that like, and this is tying back to the earlier point of like Atreus not being able to shoot at Freya, is that like now this like completely flips Atreus's character around for me at least, because it's like now he sees, like, he knows his dad is going to die. He doesn't know exactly how it's going to happen, but he knows there's a prophecy saying that his dad is going to die somehow, right? um so like literally every time that he's with his dad, it feels like he's going to be like walking on eggshells because that death can happen at any moment now, right? Because he doesn't know exactly how it's going to happen. So like, and so the scene later on when he's fighting Freya and she has his her blade up to his neck, that scene really hit for me because it's like he couldn't kill her before, but now it's like he almost like he's just so on edge and so scared and just wants to protect his dad so much after learning about this prophecy that now like he has no hesitation about killing Freya because of what he saw on that wall, because once again he doesn't know how it's going to happen, but he knows it's going to happen some way or another. So yeah, I really love how they kind of like flipped how like just Atreus in general and kind of like made him like, I don't know, just like a little bit more, they added that extra layer to his character. I found really, really cool. But
And that
yeah.
entire section is amazing too. It's like,
Yeah, we'll get there for sure, man.
oh man, oh boy.
So is there any last thoughts on Ironwood before we move on?
I'm all set.
Nope. Nothing that'll spoil. That won't spoil.
Okay, so what we get back from Ironwood. Okay, so I mean, this is Macho. This is the scene that you wanted to really get into. Atreus goes to sleep, but he wakes up not in Sindri's home, but in his home. So he wakes up there. He gets out, and there's some enemies to fight. He opens up the realm gate. And who is it that comes out of the gate?
Dude, my heart dropped.
When you're doing something naughty, your
It's
parents
like,
walk in when you're
but
in high
it's
school.
exactly it's like you going. It's like telling your parents you're going to the library or something. You end up going to the mall with your friends, and then you see your mom or dad in like a store or something like. Yeah, and then they see you come about to walk into Foot Locker or something, and they just bust through the door, and they're like, "What are you doing here? I thought you were studying at the library." It's like the same thing here, and I love it so much because you just get the because Trey just walks into Kratos' abdomen, and you're just like, "Oh shit."
And Kratos is just looking down.
Yeah, he's like, yeah, you know, you fucked
Messed
up.
up. Yeah.
It's such a great. I love the dynamic between the two. But yeah, he's like, "Where were you?" And then that's when you get into dad mode. You're just like, ah, can't blame him for being.
Atreus
You can't blame him for being so
has
mad.
to lie. Actually has to hide a promise. This is the first promise he has to actually keep, and you start seeing that. Oh, more lies, like more secrets from Kratos to Atreus. But Atreus, you understand what Atreus is trying to do, and it's so frustrating. At times. He's like, ugh, I want him to know, but he can't know. It's not time yet. Oh, it's so good, so good.
Yeah, it's one of those moments where, again, my heart just drops, just sinks into my stomach, because you want Kratos to know so badly, and you want Atreus to tell him, but it's such a burden at the same time having this knowledge that that his dad, it's foretold that his dad's gonna die, and like, how do you really come across from that? How do you are you preventing it by not telling him or telling him? Like, again, there's so much to think about when it comes to that kind of stuff, and Atreus is like a teenager, so that kind of weight is just unbearable. So him going feral, right, like later on, when the scene progresses, is just like, it makes so much more sense. And yeah, again, it's one of my favorite moments because it's so funny at the same time, but then it gets really serious. So just Kratos and Atreus just firing off one another again, be like, "Well, you kept secrets," and he's like, "It's not the same thing." And
Yeah.
Atreus again firing back at him. It's like, "Listen, you need protection," and Kratos like, "I don't need protection." It's
Nope.
again that it's the unstoppable force meets the immovable object, but except there's not a lot of context between the two because there are secrets. So great.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I absolutely love that conversation. Um, and then do we want to move on to what immediately happened after that?
Yes.
Uh,
Yes.
so a few more enemies come out to attack Kratos, and also how good did it feel just being back in Kratos' shoes after spending like a few hours as Atreus? Like I love playing as Atreus, but like once we got back with Kratos, I was like, oh yeah, like it feels
Blades.
good to be home, you know?
Ah, the blades.
Oh
Thank you.
yeah, yeah. So messed around with Kratos a little bit, killing a few enemies, and then literally out of nowhere, a Valkyrie shoots down from the sky and starts, like stomping on Kratos' head, that classic animation from the first game. And we are fighting a new Valkyrie named Vanadis, um, which it was first of all, like once you start fighting her and the Valkyries theme. I said this in the stream, but the Valkyries theme song from 2018 is my favorite song in that game. So like having it return in this game and it started playing as you're fighting her, I like chills throughout my entire body, man. It was just like perfect, man, perfect.
I
It is
agree.
perfect,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I love that I struggled until the reveal. I was harrowing my mind. Like, who? Why? What is happening? Like, who is this? Didn't we kill all of them? Wait, what happened? Are they liberated? In my mind, like throughout the whole fight, I was like, who can this be? And I love that it didn't. It wasn't easy. Like I died a lot. I died a lot in this fight. Uh, this I forgot how to Valkyries fought. The whole wing situation and with guarding and that little twirly move they do when they hit you with the wings and they do a little spin. I I I got sent back to fighting Sigrun and that PTSD set in. And I was like, oh my god, I don't want to get slammed on the floor again. This is too bad. But then what happens afterwards? So or Macho, what do you think of this fight?
This was yeah. It was one I got into serious gamer mode when this hit, man, cuz
Mm-hmm.
again, I was playing on hard mode. So the hits
You psycho.
were at, I mean, it was fun though. The hits were from this Valkyrie was insane.
You like
Um
the hits, yeah?
it was insane. I'd say right now, like, she was whooping my ass, but I was having so much fun doing it because again, I was in game mode. I just got the fight or flight moment, and I just went in. I was like, yo, switch between acts and Blaze of Chaos, get back. Oh, no, no, come on, Atreus, let's go. And it just got me, man. I was absolutely in the game during that in the fight. I mean, the music just elevated to a whole new level. That I was sweating, man. My hands were sweating during this fight. It was so good.
Facts.
Let me actually ask you guys about like because we haven't really talked about a lot about the combat in general in the game. Um, are you guys finding yourselves addicted to the whole kind of like you do a certain combo and the more that you do it, it upgrades from like a bronze to a silver to a gold kind of thing? Do you
Yeah.
guys know what I'm talking about?
Like, as far as like, yeah, I mean, you're talking about like a progression the more you use something, right?
In the skill tree, yeah. So like if you use like for instance the Hyperion pole with the blades, like I think for bronze it's like 10 times, and then if you use it those 10 times, then you upgrade to a silver, and then in that silver it asks you to use it 50 times, if you do it 50 times, it moves up to a gold, and then you have to do it 75 times. And then once you get gold with that one specific move, it lets you add like a modification to it, so you can have extra damage, extra stun.
Stun,
Yeah, yeah,
or
yeah, yeah.
elemental.
Right,
Uh,
right, right. And that's for like every ability on the skill tree for both axe and the blades. I ask this because I've become like, for whatever reason, and I don't think this was in the first game, but for whatever reason, I become just like so addicted to this little like gameplay loop or whatever that I'm actually like in the middle of combat. I'm like, okay, what specific combo do I want to focus on? Okay, the little axe sweep. Okay, let's work on that. I only have to do this like 10 more times in order to upgrade it to like a gold or whatever. So yeah, I'm like pausing mid battle to actually like focus on doing specific skills just to see those numbers go up. I don't know why. I've become so obsessed with it, but like I feel like weirdly enough, it's ruining combat a little bit for me because I become like, instead of just like fighting naturally, I'm more focused on like doing specific combos just to see those numbers like go up. So like I don't know if you guys have been really looking much at those at the skill tree to do those combos, or have you guys just kind of just been like fighting naturally and not worrying about that kind of stuff?
Well, I love those systems particularly because you can go into them naturally as you're just playing the game. Because the thing is, it's not like a game like Marvel Snap where like your progression is really tied to doing challenges and kind of upgrades and stuff like that. So you're really focused on that. But when it comes to God of War Ragnarok, I love it because it feels intrinsic. Like no matter what I'm doing, the what I favor is being upgraded the most. So I'm gonna keep going into that sort of play style, and that there's more to explore within what I like doing. But I didn't really pay it no mind, honestly. Whatever got upgraded is what I've been using the most, and I kind of carry that through me. That carries throughout my entire playthrough of the game. But Walt, what do you think?
yeah, I didn't fixate on it. However, I wasn't oblivious to it. It just naturally kind of upgraded to even higher and higher. Because I just organically would just do combos and do certain moves more than others. Uh, no, interesting. No, I just got it through time because I did so much of the side content, so much of the repeated fights and whatnot. It just stacked and stacked and stacked, and eventually I got like the moves I used the most. Those got the upgrades to even more elemental, or more stun, or more damage, or whatever. Uh, Interesting. No, I never really fix it. The one I am, can you speak of that? Like that system reminds me of Tales of Arise, because there, the more you do a move, the higher the rating of that move gets, and the better the move, or more moves you get, or like improved versions of that move. But in this one, you just get like an added bonus, which is good. In that one, you get incentivized to do it more, but in this case, I didn't really fixate on it. What goes to show, if you like that mechanic, you should play Tales of Arise. So, anyways,
Facts.
And like to this point also, because I feel like people often say when they talk about the combat in this game that it's like, oh, it's button mashy or it's not too good or whatever. I'm like, all the tools are right there for you to make the combat as interesting or as not interesting as you want, right? Like there is so much in the combat that you can do, and I don't know, like even though I've been dying a lot because because I've been focusing on doing combos and trying to get these numbers go up instead of just like focusing on these battles. Even though I've been doing that, like I don't know, like I'm still having a blast with it.
yeah, absolutely. I don't know what's button mashy of this game, because honestly, I've tried button mashing. Unless you're on story mode, like the lowest difficulty, you cannot button mash your way out of this game. Try button mashing with Manatees. Try
Yeah,
it. No,
yeah, for
that
sure.
ain't working.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
I found like like games in this like combos are they matter and then they don't because in boss fights they just break that. Even if you have this really good practice combo, you're the boss 9 times out of 10 is not going to be stunned to the point where you can bounce them around like that. Otherwise, it wouldn't be a boss. But like with regular enemies, yeah, you can definitely flex that muscle. I use it a ton in Vanaheim for a couple of the enemies where I bounce them with Blades of Chaos, and then once they're burned, I switch over to Lion with an axe. I just start swinging, throw the axe, eventually get them in the stun state, and then finish them off. So yeah, there's a
Yeah.
lot to explore there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm having a
yeah.
lot of fun with this combat. More fun.
It's like a fighting game, which, funny enough, Eric Williams is a huge fighting game fan. So,
Yeah, but it's not a fighting game, right? No, it's
you
not.
know, it is a fighting game. That's why I should have been nominated. But
Oh, you're right. You're right. I agree.
yeah.
um, but yeah, yeah. So I mean, continue with the Vanadis fight. We come to find out that it is indeed Freya. I love the realization too, right? When you know both their weapons kind of clash together, and the camera is like Kratos is almost like looking at the camera, like the way that it's kind of like positioned, and he kind of like subtly looks at the sword and then looks back at Freya, and then you know says her name. Um, but actually, before we even get to that, what did you guys think about the boss fight in general? Because I said this in the stream that like I feel like um this is the goddamn queen of the Valkyries, right? And like I just feel like knowing that, right? Like it should have been much more of a spectacle. It should have been something more like big and bombastic and like I don't know, it felt like a regular Valkyrie fight with a little bit more added onto it, but like to be honest, I think Sigrun from the first game was like far tougher, if that makes sense. But
Mm.
like at the same time, like I'm thinking about like the Needhog fight in Vanaheim. I'm obviously thinking about the Thor fight. Like I don't know, I felt like our like real boss fight against Freya, the Queen of Valkyries, should have been like an event, and to me, it didn't feel that way. How do you guys feel about it?
I think it's two things that influenced that for me and kind of like made sense. Uh, One being story driven in the sense that she kind of relinquished that title. She didn't want to be that anymore, or wasn't that for the longest time, and she just took up the mantle and took those weapons and whatnot. And she's fighting Kratos. I feel like that spectacle would be there if she was fighting someone like Odin or someone like uh, another enemy. Because in this case, she's just trying to kill him as fast as he can, or like try to take his time with him. Uh, it didn't feel like Freya was in her prime, if that makes sense. Because realistically, Freya's not in her prime. She wasn't in 2018. She wasn't in this game. Uh, the other part is it's it's a middle ground boss battle. It's not like Sigrun was a end game, you know, secret boss, quote unquote. So like design wise, it wouldn't make sense to make her like on par with Sigrun, because then a lot of people would not complete the game because that boss is absurdly hard fighting with Sigrun. Uh, I don't know. That's kind of my where I'm at, and just I didn't see Freya as on that level of her career as a Valkyrie Queen. What do you think, Macho?
Yeah, I mean, I put on my Kingdom Hearts brain here, and I just thought that she was holding back specifically because of her brain and her mind being split on
Her emotions.
and her emotions too, just everything at play. And she donned the armor, and that was kind of like the kickoff, right? That was like that's firming her resolve that she's gonna absolutely demolish Kratos. But then in that fight, she holds back, and I think that's specific for the turmoil that's going on with her. The part of her that wants to forgive him, but also
And
wants to
Atreus
kill
was
him.
there.
And Atreus is there too, exactly. Yeah,
Yeah,
like
Sigrun didn't kill about any of them. Sigrun was like, "Oh, I am a spirit that has been corrupted. I will kill you." But Freya in this case is more. I mean, you saw that scene after the fight. I'll just quick on that sentiment that's portrayed in that scene. How she's so conflicted, and she's pacing. She's like, what do I do? Like I feel angry, but what's going on? But that's kind of, yeah, it didn't. I do get Soul if this was like if there was no doubt at all, Kratos would I don't think he would have died, but I think he would have they would have put a bigger fight, a bigger spectacle for sure.
yeah. I mean
Yeah,
that was my reasoning with it, but yeah.
yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so I mean, yeah, I could definitely see that Macho for sure. That makes sense. Um, so yeah, so obviously we get the realization that it's Freya. She takes off the helmet. She puts the blade up to Kratos' neck. She says the same thing that she said in 2018. Every agony, every violation imaginable. And this is when Atreus goes off. He turns into a bear, charges at her, but Kratos stops him. And yeah, I mean, again, this goes back to what I was saying earlier about the fact that like he doesn't know how his father is going to die. So like even the slightest hint of danger, he's gonna flip out, man. He's gonna flip out. So I also felt really sad for him in that moment, because like he's just trying to desperately save his dad in with the context of knowing something that he doesn't quite understand yet, and this is again something that he also has to keep secret because remember Angrboda said that he can't tell anyone about Ironwood. So it's like he knows this incredibly like bad thing is gonna happen in the back of his mind, but he can't tell anyone about it, right? He can't vent. He can't have, Sindri kind of give him advice on something about it, right? Like this is something he has to deal with by himself, and he's a kid, so obviously he doesn't know how to handle this thing. So he's just gonna, I guess, just lash out and try to figure it out in the best way he can, and it, ended up being like this.
Yeah, it's
So
heartbreaking.
yeah, for sure, definitely. Um, and then yeah, so after that, Kratos kind of calms him down, gets him to revert back to his human form, and then we get Freya watching all of this unfold, and we kind of get this really good scream, right? Like she kind of like uses her vines to like break a boulder or whatever. She just lets out this scream because she doesn't know what to do. You can tell her mind is just kind of like in turmoil, just like it's like a tug of war inside there. She doesn't know exactly what like she wants to kill him, but at the same time, she's seeing very much like the whole a parent with a child right before her eyes, and obviously she's conflicted about that. I really enjoyed that scene as well. Seeing the struggle happening in real time, right? And then we get the dwarves. They show up, and we kind of get a little bit of a reconciliation between Freya and Kratos, at least for the time being, because Freya needs Kratos' help in Vanaheim. So, what did you guys think about this whole little section?
Again,
Their, their
Brock.
their conversation.
Well, again, real quick, Brock with the best one-liner as soon as they drop into Vanaheim. He's like, it's muggier than a multiple prime shithole here.
Yeah.
Or him interjecting himself, like, "Oh, I guess it's just us then." Freya looks down. She's like, "Ugh."
Yeah, I remember
They're
that.
so animated when she looks down at Brock, and Brock is just like, "I don't care. I'm here. Yeah, y'all need me. We're gonna travel to Vanaheim." Which that whole section, that's my favorite story section of the game. That entire just back and forth between the three, and then with Freya and I was gonna, oh my god, I've been playing so much Witcher. I was gonna say Geralt and Kratos uh, going to look for what's keeping Freya tied to the realms. I love the difference in scenery and how each realm is affected differently. I assume this is in the books as well, in the mythology, that Fimbulwinter doesn't affect all the realms the same. I like that aspect. That in this case, Vanaheim is just like more humid and like more messed up, and like the plants are like growing like all over the place. I really like that. I like this section. There's more to it, but I just want to hear y'all's opening thoughts for this. What do y'all think?
Of
Of
going
Vanaheim.
into Vanaheim, yeah. Annoying. Um, this. I don't get me wrong. I still really love this game, but Vanaheim was testing my patience. Um,
Kratos, shoot here. Shoot.
yeah. But to be fair, that's later in Vanaheim.
Yeah.
The first
Did you
section.
hate the plants?
Yes, the plants. Yeah, specifically the plants. I would
You hear the
always be. Yeah, man. I would always miss them like just at the last second, man.
same.
Yeah,
Get
and
poisoned.
I was saying that like yo like I will die more from these goddamn plants than normal enemies. Um,
Yeah, no, they're quite annoying. I wasn't gonna lie.
yeah, for sure. So let's because we're running like kind of long here, and I do have to go soon. Let's talk about like up to meeting Freyr and then call it. Are you guys good with that, or are
Yeah.
you guys? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
I
that's
was about to say
important
you guys
stuff.
can keep going if you want, but
No,
um,
we'll be here all day, and I have a movie to catch at 6.
um, so the thing I did want to kind of briefly talk about, and we'll talk about a lot more of the stuff that Freya and Kratos get to talk about when it's just them two alone traveling. But before we get there, um, Freya talking about her brother and just the unease that she feels about like reuniting with him, and Kratos finding common ground with her and talking about his brother, bringing up Deimos. That was something that like I never imagined that we would even hear about. Talking about the PSP games. Did you guys feel that way too?
I, dude, this is one of the things I brought up with Walt. I'm like, they're talking about Demos. Like, this is wild to me. And
The fact that they talk anything about the previous game, because here's the thing, they've emphasized a lot about the situations that happened in God of War 3. That much is sure, like the fall of Olympus and all this. But you come here to talk about goddamn, like God of War 1. There's some snippets of Deimos, of family, like the fact that he went into detail. He didn't just say no Deimos. No, like he had a brother. Like in the things that happen, and he hints at it, and it's amazing. It's incredible. I did not expect at all this game to even touch on those properties. But then you think, well, oh, Eric and Corey were kind of like very involved with those games as well, and it makes sense that they want to touch on the whole origin. And they didn't really. There's no real omission of a game here. Like everything's hinted at. I think at some point also the mobile game is hinted at as well, which I think Deimos was also involved a bit in that game, which is insane. But yeah, continue.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Yeah, so I love that callback because it feels like, and I think Eric talked about this, maybe, is that like these things aren't like little like wink wink and nudge nudge to the camera like, oh, look at these little callbacks, you know what I mean, that don't serve the story or anything like that, but like these are 100% callbacks for people who have been playing the franchise for years, for fans, but it also helps to flesh out these characters and make them connect even more, right? Like these are it feels like it's not fan service for the sake of fan service, if that makes sense. Like these little callbacks to Calliope, to Deimos, they serve a purpose. They're not just there because like how I feel about cameos in Marvel movies sometimes. Like these things actually have like real purpose that helps to make these characters even stronger, I feel like.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. Again, that was actually one of my favorite conversations in the entire game. Just when they're actually hitting these really raw and emotional points that I never thought in a million years I would hear Kratos talk about this stuff ever. So
Yeah.
yeah,
the fact that he was able to do that, and at the same time trying to like open up a door, the same door of friendship for Freya, and to kind of like level with her, and like I know like you don't have to tell me about like certain things about taking care of family or losing a child or anything like that, because I know. And again, it's such a great way that they handle that.
Yeah, for sure.
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely loved it. Um, and then I guess like we can go into meeting Freya for the first time before we end things. What was you guys' first impression of him?
I like him a lot. He's a very kind of happy-go-lucky kind of character. Um, yeah, he's I think he's great, but he's not like my favorite character. But I do enjoy every time I see him interact with everybody. I thought he's a really
Yeah.
cool band of misfits. I think that's really charming and cool.
As soon as he spoke or said anything, in my mind I was like, okay, this is he for sure is the face of like this relationship. Of like Freya, like I can see Freya and Freyr side to side, Freya being the brains and him being kind of like the charismatic leader. Uh, that's the most that I got from him, which is an incredible amount of charisma. A lot of depth to the character as you go on, but the charisma is insane, and I really he's not annoying because usually you get these rebel leaders or revolutionaries that are like, oh, I have all the leadership qualities, but I'm also incredibly annoying. No, I like them. I actually really like them, and I like how you can sense that there's also quite a lot of trauma in this man, and everyone in this game is very traumatized, and I dig that because it shows that they're all going through stuff, and it's human. I like it.
Yeah, their relationship is very complex, which we'll obviously learn about more later on in this section.
Yep.
Freyr as well. You learn that there's a lot to his character, especially with him and the Aesir gods and what they've done to him. Um, and it's all a really complex political web of like the classic medieval thing of like a sort of princess being wed to a prince in another country to sort of like strengthen ties between two countries or broker a peace, that kind of classic thing. It just sucked that like Freya had to do that. She was promised happiness. She thought she would be happy. There was a portion of her people who disliked her going off to do that, and then there's her brother who's thrown into the whole mix of this as well, and it's all really really interesting stuff, which we'll probably get a lot more into in the next episode. But yeah, as for Freyr, um, I don't know what my first impression was of him at the like. It was obviously exciting to meet him, obviously knowing like who he is from just like reading about him and things like that. Um, but just in general, like he didn't have like the biggest impression on me at first. Like I don't know, it was definitely someone that like I needed to see more of, I think. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I think this game it does well at, which I think this is why the Ironwood section maybe also wasn't for everybody. You get introduced to these characters in this game for the first time, and then they dump a lot of, lore with them and relationships with them. Because a lot of people guess don't vibe with that. I mean, Ironwood, because Angrboda is new, and Loki, this is the first time you actually play as Atreus. It's all new. Uh, but in this case, Freyr, I'm not disliking him meeting him for the first time. I'm like, oh, I want to know more about you, and everyone in the camp, because you can see different faces in that camp. And I my big thing in this game is I meet a new character. Even if I love the character, like that's not the big thing I'm waiting for. It's interacting with characters that you already know and love. So, like if you meet, I don't know, like Freyr, for instance, like, oh, I can't wait for him and Mimir to talk. I can't wait for him and Atreus to talk. Like, I can't wait for people to talk. I just want people to talk all the time in this game and just interact and have scenes together, because it's so incredible just to see the different dynamics come together.
Yeah, that's one of
That's
the
why
reasons
that
why I
first
like. Sorry, keep going.
No, you're good. That's why that first season really works. What were you gonna say?
Well, that's one of the reasons why like I love when MCU movies do that, because some like one of my favorite things about characters that you connect with and just love in general. I just love seeing them talk. Just having a casual
Right.
conversation. Like it's so cool. So and
But
this
it's when it's done well, because
right.
to Soul's point earlier, cheap cameos and, oh, this actor's playing this hero, so it works. No, it doesn't. I think it works when, like, that's why Infinity War is so insane, because you see the Guardians and Thor interacting, you see the Guardians and Iron Man, you see Peter Quill and Iron Man talking, you see all these people interacting for the first time, and you're like, oh my God, this is amazing, you
Yeah,
know?
it's cool. Yeah, I get the same feeling here. Like we heard stories about these characters for the past couple years, and with all the concepts of 2018 as well. So to finally see them all kind of gather one place and just hash things out or come up with plans or whatever the case may be, or sometimes even just vent to each other. I think it's a really cool thing, and the game gives you time to explore that too, right? A lot of times, whether it's just movies, TV shows, or games, it feels like sometimes whenever these characters are interacting, it doesn't give you that kind of it doesn't respect the time. It doesn't give you the amount of time that you want with it. And this game definitely explores that, so I respect it a lot just for doing that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think this game does something real well with, something that's similar to Plague Tale, is that no moment is wasted. Every single
Yeah,
interaction matters. Every single interaction matters, and
truly.
it's beautiful.
Yeah.
truly.
So yeah, I mean, I guess that pretty much can wrap it up for this spoiler cast. This part one slash part 1.5, I guess, for the
Yeah, we'll
spoiler
see. We'll
cast.
see if we can combine the videos and then post it up again or something. It's gonna
Right.
get less views, but it's gonna make it more consistent.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Yeah, so we'll definitely keep you guys posted on that. But regardless, we're gonna get out of here. Gonna get started with some outros. We are going to be on break until. Do we have an official date when we're coming back, Macho? Or Walt?
It should be the week after New Year's Day, that entire weekend. So,
So the
I
7th,
I I think it's January 8th. No, January 7th, because
7th.
yeah, next year actually starts with Sunday being the first day of the year. So it should be January 7th that we should be back.
Okay, cool. So yeah, the 7th, and we'll probably we're expecting more than likely news will still be slow. So yeah, we can do another spoiler cast then. Um, but yeah, until then, we are going to get started with some outros, guys. What do you? This is our last podcast of the year, so how are you guys spending break?
Yeah.
Whew, Macho,
Uh,
start it off. What are you
well,
doing?
I'm heading out to see my sister and her family, so I'm gonna chill with my baby nephew. Um, Share some fun stories since he went to Disney for the first time. So I'm excited to like see photos and stuff like that. But gonna be spending it with them, more family. Uh, Spending it with my sisters or my sisters. Yeah, more of my sisters like that side and their sisters' husband and stuff like that. So and then more reading more Lord of the Rings and playing Crisis Core and Halo, and that's gonna be my entire break. So it's gonna be fun.
Nice, nice. Walt, what about you?
I So for the holidays, we have a little road trip planned that we're gonna be doing. I don't know if it's north or south, but we're getting on the road, and we're gonna have my brother-in-law actually come to the States, and my sister. So we're gonna do the entire family is gonna be traveling and doing all sorts of stuff for a couple of days and hitting the road and eating all sorts of food and uh, it's gonna be fun. I don't know what we have planned specifically to do those days. All I know is that we're all gonna be in the same car for a couple days. So
Oh
it's gonna
man.
be fun.
Make sure
It's
you put
always a
on
blast.
deodorant, okay? You nasty ass.
Hey man, you gave me the best deodorant of all. Uh,
Oh, you're right. Yeah, I did. I did buy that Persona deodorant.
yeah, yeah. See. uh,
Did you get the candles
and
I sent
then
with it too?
uh, dude, shut up. And for
Oh man.
that's for New Year's, but then for holidays, we have a couple of family outings that we're gonna do and all that. And actually planning, I started planning for with my dad for a trip that we want to do next year. But we'll be doing that for games. My boy, more Pokemon. That's every day. Every day I'm putting some hours in there or some minutes in there. It's a magnifique. Playing some Pokemon Violet. I am continuing my journey of Tales of Arise, and I am loving it. Loving that game.
Yes, sir.
Um, and what else will I be playing? I don't think I'll be playing anything too new. I'm playing Witcher 3 once more with the next gen update, and that's running in a buttery smooth performance. And it's the same story that you know and love with some nice quality of life changes. So I'll be playing some of that. But when on the road, mainly Pokemon, and I for 7.99 I got AI Summonum files for the Switch. So I'll be trying that game out during the holidays. Oh yeah. What about you,
Nice.
Soul? What are you playing? Are you playing God of War, Soul? What are you up to?
Um, yeah, for like another week before I go on my vacation.
Very nice.
We'll be spending a week at an undisclosed location. Um, but but yeah, it'll be very fun. Um, but yeah, other than that, I guess that's gonna wrap it up for us. Why don't we do a little bit of a reflection, guys? How are you guys feeling about the podcast? 2022 was, I think, I feel like we kind of started to hit our stride this year, and it was really cool to be honest.
Yeah, I agree. We started experimenting different things. with the reactions and the live commentary for the awards or the showcases, and you doing your analysis videos. Like we tried different things, not only the podcast, and I really think that uh, it was successful. I really appreciate it. And your what was it? The our most viewed video was this year with your analysis of God of War. So
Oh,
that was
true.
pretty cool. Pretty dope. What you do, Macho? What do you think about this year?
Yeah, it's like I said before. I mentioned to you guys in private conversations that I think we have something really special. So there's a lot that I have plans for, and I know I talk a lot privately and so privately about this kind of stuff too. So I think we can expect more things out of DualShock and Sense next year, and I'm really excited for that. Whether it be weekly streams or more reactions or breakdown videos, I think there's a lot of playroom here beyond the podcast, and so it's only going to get better from here. And hopefully, no internet connection interruptions like there
We're
was
gonna be switching
freaking
to
today.
Discord. We're gonna be. I think it's safe to say that I think Discord is our best bet now to record and stream and all that. So I guess next year will be the year for me to just learn how to operate a stream better and make it look better and make transitions and whatever the hell.
And teach us as well so that you're not alone on that boat. So
Absolutely, yeah. I'll be teaching y'all OBS. OBS is your lifesaver.
yeah,
But yeah.
yeah. So, but yeah, I couldn't agree more. Really happy with what we put out this year, and it's only gonna get better.
And real quick, Macho, for next year, are people gonna be able to play Final Fantasy 14?
Absolutely, you know how it is. You can start right now with the critically acclaimed MMORPG Final Fantasy
Oh
14
man,
with a free trial up to level 60, including
my
award.
my New Year's resolution is that we don't have to hear that next year.
Sorry, man. That's the one. That's the one wish that the New Year's ball drop in Times Square ain't gonna give you. Sorry.
But yeah, man. So that's gonna do it for us. We will see you guys in 2023. Until then, peace out.